Hey, what's up, Fringe?
Hey, what's going on, Astral? How's your day been so far?
Pretty good, pretty good. Seems like a lot of tension on UFO Twitter. You kind of have to gauge. It's like gauge the temperature in the room when you first log on to see what it is.
Oh yeah, totally. It's things are coming to a boiling point. We're all like in the pot, just waiting for something to happen.
I think that's it. Like, there's an anticipation of something, whatever it is that either something's coming, an announcement or an event. I think people are getting like this increased notion, and that's kind of what people are trying to like study and look at too, and like find out how to gauge that. It's like a connected consciousness or like a global consciousness. There's like a project called the Global Consciousness Project, which takes like random number generators around the world and does measurements when some of the larger scale events happen, like stuff like a 9/11 or something like that. And, you could actually see that like it's almost like there's like a sentiment or like a pre-sentiment that's throughout humanity that they know that something's about to happen, beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. And then I always think, well, is this being seeded into our consciousness because we are so creative and we are, somewhat creating our reality, even though it is a collective consciousness. Our individual reality butts up against the collective and certain things that are happening that are outside of our control. But I do sometimes wonder, is this being seeded so that we actually push it to happen? But there's just something very strange in the air for sure.
I'm trying to change the title. I had a working title. This was a space that I actually scheduled with Nathan from the Amazing People podcast, who's a really cool dude. I haven't got a chance to actually talk with him, but was excited and still am. He's going to reschedule it. And I think we're actually going to end up doing it on the UFO Twitter week. But he's somebody who's done like 30 interviews in the last year with a lot of people who everybody would like to talk to, but he's really young, like 20 something years old, and has started a podcast. And I think he does like the meditation recordings for a very popular meditation app that I'm sure a lot of people have heard of or used. I just can't think of it off the top of my head, but um I just still wanted to hold the space too, and just get kind of a discussion going. I announced the UFO Twitter week, and it's something that have started with people in the community. I saw Holly was in here just before, and we have kind of organized a lot of this, and with other people in the community too. Um, it just is an event for hosts and people to really focus in on the I think the potential of what Twitter is as a platform and spaces. And I like spaces better than podcasts, but and I think that once people who are influential in the field, like a lot of people I feel like who are a lot bigger names, like say somebody like a Corbell, like they'll jump into a space, but they'll stay in it for like a minute tops and then they'll bounce. But I feel like if he held the space, there would be like it would be like thousands of people there at one time. And like so I think like it hasn't yet been embraced by people who I feel like, if there were a lot of larger names coming in and like hosting a space and like knew how it was all kind of done, uh I feel like it would be beneficial for everybody too, because I think it's a platform where people can just come up and like ask those questions that they want to ask, where like if you comment it in some of these podcast broadcasts like live streams or whatever, it's really hard to like get like a really good question out unless you're like zeroed in live on the broadcast. And so like the spaces I feel like are a very good way, and it's almost like a way for you to tell if people can answer those questions on the spot. Um, so I feel like the UFO Twitter week in a sense is like kind of setting people up for the platform to be able to do that and have some speakers and have some cool events. So um, it should be actually a fun time. I'm excited for it. Oh geez, UFO Shane's already down in it.
Yeah, he needs I don't know. Zen, Shane, you need to meditate or get some Zen or something going on. I think that
This is his end, I
yeah,
guess.
this is Zen. I think that UFO Twitter Week is a fantastic opportunity, and I just think that we have. I just love this whole spaces thing. It just brings us all together from all across the world. Gives us such an opportunity to speak, to share ideas, people who never would have met, ideas that never would have been shared. And you just bring up a good point. Why aren't the bigger names holding spaces? Because bigger names in other communities do hold spaces. And it's interesting that you brought up that topic of people just being able to answer questions on the fly. It is a bit of a different environment. Uh, I'm not sure. I'm sure UFO Shane has something to say about it.
Let me tell you why, Astral. I came in here and I was thinking about life in the universe. But let me tell you why these guys don't want to come in here, friend. Because you're going to ask them questions they can't predetermine. You're going to ask them questions they can't control. And they're going to be like, I don't know how to answer that. I look like a fool, so I can't come here in the spaces. I can't come here in this house here. Now you guys are down thumbing, but I had Ross Coulthart lined up. He was going to join my space and seek the truth with me and my brothers. But when he found out I was going to ask him questions about Jim's balls, well, Ross Coulthart don't talk to me no more. So,
Well, it's funny you say that, bro, because Ross Coulthart was on 2 UFO Twitters ago, and I
he
thought it
didn't
was a great
he
space.
didn't come into my
Holly
space,
set it
Astral.
up and helped me out.
Did you ask him why he decided he wouldn't come to my space? Was it perhaps because Stephen Cambion was going to be there? Possibly.
Shit, I wouldn't go to that space.
And, so that's on you if you don't want to seek the actual truth. Now I had Jeremy Corbell on the space not a couple fortnights ago, and I sang in the song of the people. I said, Jeremy Corbell, Nahiya no la sa. I sang him the song of the grift. And he understood that song. He understood that he was making $2.3 million to buy himself a ranch in Southern California. So that's why they're not coming here, because they don't want to be asked the hard questions. They just want to go on podcasts where people don't even know about this topic and just be pandered to and petted, slowly brushed. They want to be rubbed with butter, Astral, and placed in the oven at 355 degrees. They want to fluff up real nice. They don't want to come in here. You got people like you or friends or sweet, precious Holly over there with her sweet brindle hair, or old vet who has real questions to ask. They're not here for that. No, they're not here for that. And sweet Holly's brindle hair, just look at it flowing in the wind. I'm imagining it right now. God, it's making me just have a good day. But they're not here for that, Astral. They're here to be pandered to. They're here to go to podcasts where people appreciate them being there. That's what they're here for. That's what they want. Also, Ashton is a goddamn liar. But go ahead, Astral, and continue your space, man. And Holly, you continue with your sweet brindle hair. And we have Casey just joined us. Casey, you go ahead and support Big Chicken. She supports Big Chicken. I do not. Holly, go ahead with your sweet, Wiccan, amazing brindle hair.
Hey, Holly, what's
Wow.
up?
Wow. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Shane, go to bed.
It's literally 4
Or get
o'clock
the
in the
center
afternoon.
stage.
Like, well, you want to go to bed 4:13 in the afternoon, Holly?
Oh, Lord.
There's hours left of this fun. We're on a roller coaster that never ends.
And for the record, we did have Ross Coulthard in the space, and it was wonderful.
Astral, I believe my hand was raised. I believe it was raised after. Did you see it? Hold on a second.
I think
Astral,
this
gonna
next
shoot
one's
for
gonna be
5. I'll be
fire.
back.
This next one's gonna be. I'm excited for, because I just already know from the people who have already hit me back, and like, so like Steve Bassett just hit me back, and a couple people on Twitter hit me back already, and we're like, yeah, let's do it. So
I
there's a
love
lot of
Steve.
people I
I
think already
love
have.
Stephen Bassett. I love him. He's like the only dude. Like when you watch his old interviews, Astral, and you can see the vein popping out. He's like, these goddamn motherfuckers, they know this shit's real. And it's just like, hell yeah, Stephen Bassett. Tell them, brother. Tell them on the mountain. I love Stephen Bassett. I've talked to Stephen Bassett a couple times. I love him. UFO Twitter Week is the best. Honestly, it's my favorite thing because you get to hear about it all. I know I'm quite cynical, but it's good to hear other opinions about things. It's not so great to just shut stuff off all the time. Stephen Bassett's the fucking man, and he's always down to do whatever he wants to. Like he's always down to help the community. But he's an advocate for that, right? So I love that. If you want to get Jeremy Corbell in here, you have to talk to Uplifting Tweets. That's the only time I've ever had him in spaces is with Uplifting Tweets. That you could probably get him. Jeremy has come into some spaces I've done. He's come into spaces that that Uplifting has done, and he was on the PC at the time, so he couldn't talk. And I've done that for Fugal.
You know what I actually liked about the interview that he had with Steve-O?
Dude, that was such a good interview, dude.
Steve-O was like he was basically, Steve-O was like, why are you the dude? Like, how did you get in this position? And Corbell was like, I was the only guy. His answer was like, I was the only guy that was making shit and like doing shit. He's like, I got a camera for my wedding and I just threw it in people's faces and they started talking. And I was like, oh, I should make a documentary. And he said that the Lazar documentary took him 9 years to make, which is
A
kind of crazy.
9-year film of lies. Yeah, of lies from Bob Lazar. But
well, I mean, just to make, you know what I'm saying? Like to make that 9 years is crazy.
The best thing that Corbell said in that interview, and I shit on Corbell a lot, but I actually don't dislike Corbell really that much. A lot of my friends, like I'm friends with Fettuccine. He's friends with Corbell. They asked Corbell. They said, "Can you tell us something that would blow our minds right now?" He's like, "No, because it doesn't matter. I could tell you all kinds of things, and just like how the government said that UAPs are real, it wouldn't matter." So I love that entire interview. I listened to it yesterday as it came out. I actually had a really good time with that interview. I don't know anymore, man.
Well, I felt like those guys were genuinely interested, both of those, in the subject, and they're
I'm talking to
researched.
Oliver Tree in DMs right now, trying to get him to come in here on Spaces.
That'd be sick.
So, I mean, I'm doing the best I can. I don't have, 13,000 followers or 14,000 followers, so it's hard for me to do that. But I'm doing the best I can. But we have a lot of good researchers that don't have a lot of followers, like Stephen Mira. I don't know where Holly went.
That's what Holly suggested, like a UK space too. For Twitter Week, because I think UK a lot of people are over there and doing things and looking to how to contribute and want to collaborate on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of knowledge to be gained from spaces if you've taken the time to not only come on Twitter, which is a very toxic environment. Let's be real, guys. Let's be real here. And then you have like the monetization of it. I'm sitting at 144,000 impressions in the last week, but in order to get paid, you have to have 5 million. So you post memes and you post things that get people riled up. That's how it works. It's kind of a rough territory right now. But if you've taken the time to come on Twitter, you've taken the time to come on UFO Twitter, and then you've taken the time to come on UFO Twitter Spaces or X Spaces, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't give a shit. That's a totally different ballgame. Like people are here trying to find answers. And I think that UFO Twitter Week, I don't know why that dude like shit on it in that post. I told him to go fuck himself, as you know. Because
Tom DeShlong?
Yeah, Tom DeShlong. I'm not a Tom DeLonge fan at all, man. But I'm a Fringe fan. I'm a Bridget fan. I'm fans of people who are dealing with the phenomenon as they deal with it every day, because they've taken the time to come here and talk in spaces. And it doesn't really matter to me if you have 5,000 followers, 30 followers, 20,000, 100,000, whatever. Just come here and talk to the people. Like, how much time does it really take to open your phone app when you're doing a bunch of bullshit and just come in here and talk to people? It really means a lot to me to
Well,
come in here and
dude,
spaces
UFO
and talk,
Twitter
right?
is one of the only places where like the sock accounts are popular, like Dick Butt, and who are these fucking guys? They're just
Richard
like,
Budd is
but they're
obviously
so
David
popular,
Grush.
that everybody's like
He's
hanging on to what they say.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And David Grush is obviously Richard Budd. I think you disclosed that, so we
I
know
just
this.
asked a question.
You just asked a simple
Because
question.
he said in the documentary, he was like, yeah, I've been on, see all the stuff on Twitter. And I'm like, if he's on Twitter like that, like seeing the comments about him, like he's got to be on these shits. He's got to be somewhat in this conversation for a while. And it only makes sense that like he's maybe defending Grush the whole time.
Well,
But
he
it
can't tell
doesn't,
you
like,
though
at
because
this
his
point, though, it
sources
doesn't matter. Like, who the fuck cares?
it has a lot to do with Dopser, and he just can't tell you his sources. The same with Ross Coulthart. He can tell you when he's apparently drunk, as I was told in a space, and he tells you, or in a podcast tells you he knows where a UFO is buried or whatever, but he won't tell you where it is. I'm getting tired of that bullshit. So, it is what it
But
is.
you know what though? Like, here's the thing, and even like I've seen it with sightings that people have shared with me, or sightings that I'm thinking about posting. Is if I was like, hey, I'm thinking about sharing this information, but I don't know if it's valuable or valid. Should I share it? And and if you did a poll, like 95% of people would be like, yeah, let's hear it. But then if you do it, if you share it, and then after the fact, people are like, that's not good enough, or like, we want more, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people just, they're not
Well,
satisfied enough just with getting these
Tiffany
tidbits that are there.
Tiffany said earlier in the group chat, she said it's like spy versus spy. It's like it doesn't matter what you post or what evidence you have. People are going to pick it apart, but that's part of like it's part of UFO Twitter. It's part of it. People are going to pick your shit apart. It just is.
But
It is what it
if
is.
you had a source and they were like, you can say this, but you can't say this. Like, you can say that we have a UFO, but you can't say where it is. And would you compromise that source and
100%.
basically your journalistic integrity,
I would compromise it
or
100%
relevant is the
immediately.
information that you're going to disclose to like basically like canceling anybody trusting you?
Yeah, well, but if you have full disclosure and you come out with full disclosure and it's provable, even if you end up in Guantanamo, we're going to get you out. So, if you're really doing it for the human race, then probably don't hold the information back and being a piece of shit, or probably don't go to Yes Theory or Jesse Michaels and have like this amazing bro. It was like Randy Marsh from South Park in the fucking episode where it was Wicked, where they have a bro down.
I actually think they
Probably come
got
out
good
and just say the
timing.
truth.
They were good in contacting Grush and being like, we'll document this process for you. And they got access. Like,
We'll
they got in the
document you
front of the
blowing down.
line, bro. Like they were the first people
I
to
get
go
it.
in.
Yeah, I call bullshit on all that, dude. I think it's stupid. So
Well, I think they were
Abby
the film crew.
Abby Loeb.
It could have easily been anybody else, but nobody was stepping up and approached Grush after the news.
What?
Think about it. If somebody saw the News Nation interview,
Okay.
reached out and been like, "Dude, we know that you're gonna probably go to Congress. We'll document this whole process for you, and just get us in and give us access to it." Like, that's basically what I felt like what happened, and then they got to document like all the days around it.
So what is a whistleblower, though? A whistleblower is someone like Julian Assange, who put their life in danger for actual knowledge. A whistleblower is someone who doesn't go to Dopser. They don't go to these people they just tell you what they know and what they've learned, right? They don't seek approval or answers from the government. That's not what a whistleblower fucking is. So if you want to tell me about Kenneth Arnold and fucking Project Paperclip, that's cool, man. Like, I get it. You're bringing more people into this that may have not known about that, but that's not being a whistleblower. it's kind of ass, to be honest with you. You want another 80 years of this bullshit? Well, that's what we're at. That's where we're going. So I'm not with it, man. I don't really care. I'm personally, it's just my opinion, but I'm not with it. So, take that for what you want to take it as.
Well, what's the solution?
The solution is someone from Lockheed Martin coming out, stealing a piece of an alien spacecraft, and coming out and being like, here it is. Here it is, guys. You waited 80 years. Here it is. Here's solid proof. Here's something you can hold on to. I'm about to go to prison, but here it is. Here are the answers. I'm an
But
actual whistleblower.
nobody's in that position for that to happen. Like, that's the reason why people aren't in that position to do that is because they're so vetted and they're so loyal that they won't do that. Like, it's got to be like at birth, bro. This
Well,
person's
because
got to be fucking.
they're getting paid $400,000 a year to take care of their families and their kids. It's like a lot of people that have had people have family members who have worked for these government projects, and they die with these secrets, man. They'll never
But I think
tell you.
it's hard enough. Like, I know, trust me, dude. I get you, and I think the frustrating part is like it's hard enough getting the people who, even with Grush, have touched and have been a direct experiencer with any of the craft or any of the things that he's talking about because it's secondhand information. And I think what we all want is like shit that's happening right now. And I think that like we're even struggling to get information of people that were involved in the stuff with programs that were happening back in Roswell, like of even unearthing that information. And I think that's like where it's almost like it's like a shift. It's like a catch-22, like a shift thing where they're like, oh, like pay attention to this old stuff that might be doing. Meanwhile, like all this other stuff's happening right now.
We've got to burn this motherfucker down. Just light this bitch on fire. Use kerosene. It burns at a lot higher burn rate. But just burn this motherfucker down, dude. Like if you keep being complacent about this stuff, we all know the government has this shit. We all know they have it, it's 2027 is going to turn into 2032. 2032 is going to turn into 2035, 2046, 2056. So it's going to keep going. That's what they've been doing for the last 80 years. It's going to keep going, man. It's going to keep going, dude. And we know they have metamaterials and whatever else, but if you keep getting complacent and just keep accepting, people treat David Grush like he's a fucking messiah. If I make one post about David Grush, I get threats in my DM all day long. You piece of shit. How dare you? How dare you? Back in the day, man, with ufology, if you read like Lavenda or fucking any of these guys, no one trusted the government, but all of a sudden, he's got a government background, man. He's telling you the truth.
I mean, that's what beyond reproach means. Is like he's got such a perfect background that like if you question it, it's like those people will go after you.
They dox you. They fucking make you feel like you're garbage. You don't even want to open your Twitter account because you have an I get it all the time. I get it all the time just because I ask like easy questions. I'm like, hey man, I know you heard all this secondhand. Maybe give us anything. Well, I have to be in a skip for that. Or like with Ross Coulthart, I've talked to all these anonymous sources, but not one of them I can't release. Not a single one. I know where a fucking UFO is buried, and it would give you full disclosure, but I can't tell you where it is. Like that's fucking stupid. It's the same bullshit over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm personally done with it. So it is what it is. Because I know it's real. You know what I mean? I know it's real. I know this stuff is real. I've seen it. So I'm not looking to these UFO celebrities for a goddamn thing anymore. I don't give a shit what they say, what they're doing. They're going to go on podcasts where people jack them off and fucking throw them softballs all day because they're so glad that they came on their small show. Same thing with Lou Elizondo when he went on like all these small podcasts. It's fucking bullshit. It's stupid. It's the same bullshit over and over and over again. And you can make excuses for these people all you want, but you don't know these people. They're people just like you and me. They make mistakes. They live their lives. They're paying their bills. And that's really what it comes down to. So, I just don't look to these people for answers anymore. Is what it is. I mean, call me cynical.
No, it's good. I mean, honestly, bro, it's good. And I feel like there's when people actually get researched into the topic, there and even listening to spaces and other people who are researching this topic, they get an understanding that it's not about the people, bro. Like, it's not about individual people and their view on it. And it's about, like, collectively, that there's so many people interested in researching this topic that it isn't about one person's view. And it can't be one person's fucking perspective is the perspective that it's going on, because there's so many different things and so many different type of experiences. And I think that, there is frustration out there where people are, like, seeing that, like, people are, certain people are getting attention. But I think for the most part, a lot of people in the field have been doing this shit. Like, they've been trying to get people's attention for a while. And I think that what will happen is a lot of the stuff, like the people that are doing a lot of, like, good work and research that is credible, is going to be brought to the surface, and is going to be paid more attention to, and is going to be shared more. Like, a lot of people, when they get on UFO Twitter and they start talking, like, even in spaces, people will come up and be like, "Oh, Stephen Greer is great," and people will be like, "Hold up, bro, like, like, let's pick that apart a little bit." And I think, like, that's what needs to happen, but it doesn't need to be, like, screamed from everybody at the same time. I think that, like, it will get there for people who are just learning about this topic and are jumping in, to, like, not jump on certain people's bandwagon to, like, take everything that they say with, you know what I'm saying, like, the gospel. Yeah, feel free to anybody to jump up. We're just kind of getting the discussion going. Um, just kind of hanging out. So a lot of topics that you could jump into, um, whether it's consciousness or dreams, UFO, UAP disclosure type of stuff.
So I have a question, Astral. It's actually for probably Shane, but maybe you too. I kind of wonder what is going to be good enough, because we have abductees, we have experiencers, we have research, we have materials, we have so much evidence. And everybody just wants to debunk everything, call everyone grifters. I'm not saying there's no grifters out there. There's grifters out there, right? But there's overwhelming evidence for the phenomenon, for psi, for consciousness. What is going to be good enough? Who is not going to be called a grifter? What authority, what government official, what evidence is going to be good enough? And I just question that. I'm not sure anything will be good enough. I think that, number one, if we did get something that even satisfied the people in this room, half of the United States citizens and maybe the world citizens are not even going to believe it, because everything is debunked, everything is called a grifter. And it just makes me wonder, what's the threshold? What are you guys looking for? And what's going to be the piece of evidence that will be good enough to say this is real, disclosure has occurred? And that's for anybody, Astral.
Go ahead, Shane.
Oh, you're gonna go ahead and go with me. Yeah, so when it comes to grifting and grifters, Corey Good, grifter. David Wilcock, grifter. Sarah R. Adams, grifter. Grifters. There's other people like Giorgio Tsoukalos, not so much a grifter, just someone who's very adamant in his beliefs. Grifters are people that know that what they're saying is bullshit, and that they still sell it to sick people who have had something happen to them. Like I always say this, I had cancer, right? And if I had been a part of this group at the time, I would have believed Sarah R. Adams that, like, a med bed was going to save me from my cancer, and I would have paid her for her courses, or Wilcock's Michael prophecies, and then I'd be dead. Instead, thank God, I spent that money on getting healed through medical common science. That's what grifters are, right? TTSA, not TTSA, To the Stars Academy. They literally said that they were going to make alien spacecraft normal. They were going to build a spaceship, and all these people invested money, and none of it turned out to be anything. And then Lou Elizondo left the group because of that, right? So, and I have it on good word that they're about to be fucking sued to high hell because they didn't provide anything for the people that paid for those stocks in that company. The same with David Wilcock has an aerospace company, and all he can show you is shit he's 3D printed on a Saturday morning. So that's what grifters are, right? Now, if you truly believe what you're saying and you truly feel like you're here to do something, people are still going to call you a grifter anytime you ask for money, but that doesn't mean you're a grifter, right? So Brandon Fugel has ran the ranch better than Bigelow ever did. And I know this because I know the people that worked at the ranch during NIDS and after NIDS. But he still got that TV show with Prometheus Entertainment, same people do Ancient Aliens, and so he gets a lot of shit for that. With Travis Taylor, who might be a grifter. Nick Pope is a liar. Nick Pope says that he did all these things and he didn't. Nick Pope told me that the term UAP comes from him. That's a lie. He's a liar. He's a grifter. It's pretty obvious to me when someone's a grifter, right? They just want to stay here because they're making 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 a month doing these conventions. David Grush, not so much. Why did he team up with Yes Theory and Jesse Michaels? I don't know. I really don't know. But is just to tell you about Project Paperclip and Kenneth Arnold and his, secondhand bullshit, whatever. But not so much a grifter there. He's not going after sick people or people that are looking for answers based on their mortality or their spiritual event that they had occur to them.
I think too, for me, the threshold, what Fringe was talking about of what, bro, the grifter shit, I don't fucking care about the grifters. If Nick Pope can, if honestly, dude, if Nick Pope can charge $10K to show up fucking somewhere for them to pay him, like, props to Nick Pope. Anybody, that's what I'm saying. Like, anybody that's put in that, that's put in the work to be in that position, to be able to charge anybody to pay them to do that. I don't blame that person for charging. I don't blame anybody for being able to be like, yeah, if you want me to show up somewhere, it's going to cost you $20K. Like, props to fucking anybody right now that can do that, honestly. And I don't like anybody who fucking discourages people who are just starting out, dude. I think the whole calling out the grifter shit, whatever, dude. People are making money. I don't fucking care who's making money. There's only a handful of people that are lying about it, and I'm not going to waste my time at dumbass people who are come into here and are like, I'll spend my money on whatever, and whatever people are saying, and whatever, bro. I'm not going to get.
Yeah, but Astral, you're literally Astral, dude. You understand these things, but other people who are sick, people who have had spiritual,
but they're not going to be able to be deep educated enough to come into these shits and be like, okay, I'm going to know exactly who's doing it.
You have a choice. There's doorways you can choose. And my whole thing is to knock away some of those doorways so at least maybe a small percentage will go to the right place. Someone who's at least
I respect that. I can respect that.
I almost fucking died, dude. I had cancer. I almost died. And I wasn't a part of this community at that time. But I can tell you with how I used to be. I used to believe in all this shit. Med Beds, Corey Good, David Wilcock. I gave them money. Right.
Well, I think just going back to Fringe's question, I think to me, the threshold is going to be there's some part of experiential, and the one thing that's missing, and the one thing that got me interested in the CE5, I was thinking about it today, CE5 and astral projection were the two things where I was like, I thought it was bullshit. I was like, okay, that's bullshit. But there's a way, it's almost like remote viewing too. There's a way that you can, if you go through different practices and protocols, you can experience these type of things. And I think that there's different ways where you can be like, okay, this is studied to be if you do this, something weird can actually happen. And there's 4 or 5 things that if you look at, paying attention to your dreams, remote viewing, CE5, astral projection and out of body experiences, near death experiences, DMT type of stuff. If you do these sort of things, you can actively participate in something happening that's paranormal. And I think that's, to me, the missing element is people are just waiting for that video.
And I'm trying to expose that because my grandparents were a part of those projects. My grandmother's Ann Juman, she was a psychic remote viewer for the CIA. And I fight to speak in these spaces to bring like awareness to the stuff. And like, you know, he was talking about, I get accused of that all the time, you know, of faking my story. And I'm like, I use my real name on purpose. I post non-disclosure agreements, my whole family tree. I'm hoping that people will take the time to read it.
Well, my hand's up. So, and no one's talking, obviously. So, Linda Moulton Howe, grifter. Jimmy Church, grifter. You know, just straight up, you know, he spent Corey Good and David Wilcock knowing goddamn well they were full of shit.
But Shane, my question is just what Astral said. So for him, it's maybe it's a personal experience, and maybe that's why I'm not, you know, questioning it because of personal experience. But what's the threshold?
No, I mean the threshold is knowing that these people are full of shit. Corey Good and
So,
David
like,
Wilcock are full of shit.
what tells you that people are full of shit? Because like most basic people would look at my story and think I'm full of shit, even though like I have
don't have to make it about you and your adventure. I mean, you know, I'm just saying, like, if someone tells you that they're launching through like jump rooms in the fucking Pentagon, they're going to Mars and fighting in the goddamn Mantis Wars, and they're talking to blue avian aliens, they're probably full of shit. And then you have Jimmy Church who says, "Hey, yeah, come on my show, man," so he can get those sweet views for that sweet fucking cat.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this app that try to monopolize stories.
It's called being a grifter. There's not a handful of grifters. It's like 70%.
Well, there's not really a safe space to talk about these things, especially like when you talk
don't
about.
Worry, I don't give a shit where the safe space is. I'll just say, I'll tell you what I feel either way. Damn. I don't think you're a grifter, Angela. You know.
No,
you know,
I was just trying to add.
And I put Astral on the G in uplifting. You know, Astral's always supporting the community. And people will ask Astral, they'll go, "What if I do a space at the same time you do a space?" And he told me, "Well, the more the merrier, right? Because we're still getting awareness out there. The phenomenon is real. Whatever's happening is real, right? But it's the people that prey on other people's spiritual experiences. You know, the truth isn't always what you want it to be. Sometimes
that's the hardest part to process.
And it's the truth isn't what you want it to be all the time. The truth is the truth, and sometimes it's very difficult to realize that. And I'm wrong all the time, and I do my best to understand that, you know. But like, if I make one post about David Grush, I have people like fucking threatening to stab me.
That's right? So messed up. But at least you have the cojones to admit, hey, I'm wrong, or you know, I didn't know everything, and now I have a broader picture, and now you know, like I think that speaks volumes.
I am basically a prophet, and that is true.
Okay, Shane, my question to you is so you've had your own personal experience. What is your threshold? What are you looking for? What government official can present what evidence that will be good enough to not be debunked, to not be called a grifter? What is it that you and maybe other people in this community are looking for? And it's a sincere question. Astral has said perhaps for him it's an experience, you know, that will prove it to him, which I totally understand. You've already had an experience. What are you looking for, Shane?
There's not. These government officials, they're elected through their states, and there's not. These guys they're not elected into a stance in Congress, and they're like, "Hey man, you just did it. You won the election. Let's read you into these programs." There's not. These people don't know anything. These senators, these congressmen, they're not the people who know this stuff. The people that know this stuff are like lifetime military guys. They're generals and lieutenant colonels, and these guys that, you know, there's not a single thing a congressman or a senator will ever tell me unless they bring it out and show me like a piece of like metamaterial, right? So that's the whole thing that I have a problem with. Is like these government people, they're here to figure out like gun issues or voter fraud or high crime rates in their elected area. They're not here to tell you about aliens. You aren't elected into Congress and they read you into black projects with Lockheed Martin or fucking Raytheon. Like, it's never going to happen. Now, you can get elected and then decide that you want to pursue those things And then you're going to get shut down every single time because you don't have the need to know. Because this goes beyond nuclear, right? You're not someone from the Department of Energy is not going to show up at your house and be like, hey man, you won that election by a landslide. We're going to read you into all these programs right now. Man, the $2.3 trillion we lost last year, it all went to aliens. It's never going to happen.
Well, that's a concern too, bro. Is like that.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Like the politics right now, they're going to be focusing so much more on these election topics that the UAP stuff is going to like go to the background. It's not going to be very prevalent.
Dude, I mean, it's just weird to me. It's like call your senators. Your senator doesn't know jack shit about this. They barely got elected.
80% of Congress doesn't know or doesn't care about
They don't know anything. And if you watch that Steve-O interview, Jeremy says that. He says, I've had to read a lot of these people in myself. The same thing with Greer. He says the same thing. You know, I've had to
made a
read these people
breakdown, bro. He made like a fucking spreadsheet of all the senators, 100 of them. And like he went on a mission. Like his thing was like, I'm going to talk to 100 of them. And he said, and he broke it down on whether they knew about it, cared about it, and had any knowledge of it. And like 80% didn't know or didn't care at all. So 80 of them didn't even care.
Well, fuck no, they're worried about getting reelected. Like they're not gonna know, man. Now that's Harry Reid held his position for quite a long time. And being a Mormon, right? He wanted to know about the veil. And if you follow, and you have to look into Mormon beliefs and understand that like Mormons believe this kind of stuff. That's like a rare case. And I wish he had survived his cancer because Harry was pretty cool. But that's just like it's really like this is like an off jointed thing. You know, call your senators, call your congressmen, man. They're too worried about other shit. The gas prices, gun control, crime rates, whatever. They don't have time to worry about fucking aliens, man.
Well, Shane, my question's not limited to Congress or the government. My question is you've already had an experience. You know, what are you looking for? Are you looking for someone private to come out with a material that can be debunked, or because there's tons of experiencers. There's so much evidence, and you've had your own experience. I'm just wondering what you're waiting for.
I'm not waiting for anything from these people because on the brink of war with China,
gun? Like, what do you feel like is going to be influential for the smoking gun to get people?
Bro, for me, I'm going to be dead honest. Like real talk. It'd have to be a full on alien spaceship. Like at this point, I would love to see metamaterials or a piece of a spaceship that can alter gravity. Anything like that. Anything that you can hold out and show me. Because I've already had 80 years of hypotheticals. I've had 80 years. That's multiple lifetimes. You know, we tend to think of 80 years as one lifetime. Well, some people don't make it to 40. Some people don't make it to 50 or 60 or 70. It's multiple lifetimes. So something that it doesn't take much to prove that it's alien, man. If you can alter gravity, that's alien. If you look under something through a microscope and it shows that it's not of this world, that's alien, right? So anything that just shows that it's not from us, that shouldn't be so very hard as many cases as we have. You think they have this stuff, but your congressmen, your senators, they're not going to show you. They don't even know it exists. So, but me personally, I would need to see what Bob Lazar claims he saw. I would need to see
an actual ship.
Well, I mean, not even a ship, like just a piece of the ship, or something that alters gravity, something you can test under a load. You know, like if you listen to Randall Carlson and this Malcolm shit with the thunderstorm drive, it does work, but it doesn't work under heavy load. You know, like something that you can just show me with other scientists there that proves it's real. You know, like, I mean, is that too much to ask, really, after 80 years? It's just seeing a piece of something. I know they have it. It's
like when Gary Nolan pops open that fucking the material shit. He's like showing that shit off.
He's got the bismuth. Yeah, he's got the bismuth stuff, but he won't test it. I mean, And I like Gary. Gary supports me a lot. He retweets me and comments on my stuff. I like Gary, but um, you know, I need to see something that it's not for me though, right, friends? It's not for me because I know it's real. Friends, you know it's real.
Well, Shane, then we're just now circling right back around, because it's the secret keepers who are keeping that. We, like you said, they have the UFOs, they have the materials, they have the bodies. We know, everyone in this room probably knows they have this
And
stuff,
they're never going to
and
tell
they're
you about
not
it,
going to
friends,
tell us
ever.
until they're good and ready.
They're not even then.
Exactly.
They're never
Yeah,
going to
that
tell
could
you.
very
They're
well be.
never, ever, ever going to tell you. It's up to us to find it on our own. You know, back in the 1920s and 30s, if you tripped on a rock with your goats and you fell down a hole and you found a Vimana from like ancient, the Bhagavad Gita or whatever, you called the government, you called the Smithsonian, and they came in and they hid it and they covered it up. So, um, you know, they're never going to tell us. I don't look for answers from these fucks anymore. I look for answers from myself and my own research. But I appreciate the question and I get where you're going with it. But that's my honest.
Great
That's my
question.
honest answer.
Scream, what do you think, bro? What's up, man?
Oh man, what up though? I'm still in process of twisting up. I didn't expect Shane to I thought he was gonna keep going for longer, but for me it's tough, right? I already went through that. I had a black triangle craft, TR3B, whatever you want to call it, in my backyard, and not like up in the sky. I could have hit it with a rock. At the time, I went straight to aliens. Anti-gravity, invisibility, supposed to be impossible as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty into science and stuff like that. I was, aware of theories and stuff like that, but that was it. Boom, there they were, and not just like something that I could get used to within 30 seconds of each other. I had to grasp that. So I went straight to Alien, right? So now, even if they showed a craft, I wouldn't know it's Alien because the tech is so advanced. People are doing awesome stuff. So for me, it's about awareness, right? Shane mentioned his cancer and stuff like that. A lot of people after CE5 or, they start seeing these orbs and, they say they're communicating or whatever may be going on, whatever type of link there. They have issues like that where they have to go to the hospital or they develop certain things. So for me, it's about awareness and making sure people can like protect themselves against things that are possible like that. Which if we're not doing the work, if we're not studying, we can't do that, right? Like the thunderstorm generator, I've looked at that. I don't have enough details to say whether it works or not, because you can't really get the that detail out of Randall Carlson right now, because he claims he doesn't know what's going on. But what Shane said about it working at idle and not under load is true. But what people are not talking about, because this is where we just kind of repeat what everybody else says. I'm talking to people that are retrofitting some of this stuff, and basically they're saying to fix that issue, that they're using UV light and argon to kind of create some barrier and make the molecules pass through at the proper size to continue working under load. So it's like we just don't know. That's the issue, right? And there's no handbook, and I think that's what people are looking for is like a definitive thing. This is this, and it's about the awareness or the interpretation of it all, and that's the issue because it's different for everybody. It's the same thing, but it's different for everybody. So how do you give everybody the one solid fact that they need? It's tough.
Yeah, you bring up solid points there, Screen, because you and I have spoken before about how difficult it is to tell between their tech and our tech. And like Shane's waiting for the spaceship to come out, but just like you said, what happens when the spaceship comes out? We're not even going to believe whether it's theirs or us. That might not solve the problem at all.
I think just with the technology development and even AI of what you could make now, in comparison to the footage, like James Fox talks about, what's that, the footage that like is the best footage ever, and then he kind of was like, well, even that is like not very good. So it's like the most notorious footage now wouldn't even be considered very good. And it's even like, that's the challenge to me, is when people are like, well, we have great digital cameras, we have great phones, like why isn't anybody capturing it? But if you like, nobody can capture anything, like anything flying in the sky. Like even if you try to take a picture of the moon with your phone, it looks like shit. So it's not like anything, like, and much less capture a UFO flying. You're not gonna like film the pilot and like see aliens fucking waving to you. So like that's the problem, is like, I think there's expectations now of the technology that we think we have to be able to capture this stuff. But the problem is too, like there's no way to like cross reference it. So if there's like satellites in the sky, or balloons, or whatever's going on, to be like, okay, this is what it is, this is what it isn't.
Why does there have to be though, right? Because I'm sure everybody in the room would agree that dreams are a thing. Most everybody dreams, but we've never seen a dream. We don't have it recorded.
And that's why I think the experiencer part is to me the important part, where people can personally experience the phenomenon themselves. But I think like a lot of people are looking instead, in because like one, bro, I was like an asshole when I first came on Twitter. I was like, yo, why isn't anybody going on? Like people are complaining, like, why don't you just go out and do a CE5, like find out about it for yourself? Like, why aren't you doing that? But I think like people are on different levels of first learning about it and trying to gain information and getting evidence about it. And they're looking for that evidence to like kind of like propel them to the next level of personally exploring this topic for real.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it takes, Astral. Like going right back to what you said in the beginning, it's maybe a personal experience. Maybe that's what it takes, because we're living in a day and age where anything can be faked, any film, any photograph. I don't even look at UFO videos, because I don't know if they're real or not, and it doesn't really matter anymore. And like Screen just said, we're not going to know if they give us a ship, is it our tech or their tech? So we're kind of right back to that personal experience, perhaps, is what will allow the individual, will be disclosure for the individual. Because at this point, they could come out with pretty much anything and nobody's going to believe them anyway. So what are we waiting for?
Well, the whole thing with the Vice thing that I did was basically about like me and my fucking dad. Like it was my dad, and I'd show him so many different things, but um, it wasn't until I actually went out with him and like went through the experience of doing like a CE5 and like going through, and like nothing really happened. But it was that's what we were talking about before too, of even like what it takes. I think of people who are putting themselves out there, to that willing to just explore the topic. Like it doesn't have to be successful. It does, like if you're going out and trying to be like, okay, like we're gonna document a CE5, like you're not gonna get the very first one. Like it's not gonna be like perfect fucking, like you go out and like there's a perfect sighting and you record it perfectly, and like that's the thing. Like you probably have to go out like 40 or 50 times. So it's like if you document that process of like that people are actually doing this type of work and actually researching and documenting this, like that's what inspires people more so than like the one smoking gun that people are going to question is real or not.
What blows my mind too is even if we did get that, right? Even if we had evidence everybody would agree on to say aliens exist, all that, whatever, uh, we still wouldn't trust it, right? So like it's like it just makes no sense to me that everybody's I mean I'm sure everybody knows how I feel about disclosure, but it's just crazy, and that's why a lot of times people will get in here from other countries and say like, why are aliens or UFOs just in America? And I don't think that's the case. I think disclosure is an American thing. Everybody else kind of grows up with this as like part of life, and they've dealt with it from early age, where a lot of Americans get onto it later on in life after they have an experience.
I think there's an infatuation now with documenting it some way.
Oh, it's like we're trying to prove to ourselves that it's real, maybe. Astral, what did you think? I don't know if you saw the post that I put in the group chat about the whole idea that there's some obscure law of physics that once we actually believe that this is real, in other words, disclosure, once disclosure happens, it's actually going to open the door. What did you think about that, if anything?
I think that the problem for me, and one of the biggest challenges is that there's not a lot of people that are going to, like, when you talk about skeptics right now, skeptics focus on individuals and like their credibility to what they bring to the table. But I think down the road, like 5 years from now, the challenge is going to be proving that this science is even like proving that the scientific side of this, and like that the data collection is even happening. And you get a kind of hint from that from Arrow and NASA, what they're doing. Like, people criticize them to the end right now, but really what they're doing is they're setting a precedent of like how science is going to even pay attention to this at all. And I think when you look at it, there's not like there's this like quantum entanglement and the observer effect. One of the scientists that I talk about a lot is Dean Radin. But when you talk about people who are actually testing this type of thing and like really studying it, it's like a handful of people. So I don't like, and there's still a lot of people I feel like on the fence, scientists who want to study this and are interested in this topic, but are just kind of like they're waiting for something. They're waiting for, I don't know what they're waiting for them to like step into and start researching this, legitimately and for real. But a lot of them are just waiting, kind of on the sidelines for like other people to do the work. But there's not a lot of people actually like studying a lot of these, futuristic, um, type of things, but that need to push it forward.
Yeah, so that the question is then is, like you said, why is that not happening? Is it academia? You have Graham Hancock saying that are the all the archaeologists, the old schoolers are, controlling any new lines of thought. Is
Oh,
that maybe what's happening? I don't know.
I think in part it's marketing, because a lot of the people that are doing the work are so heads down doing, like the actual work, that when they're not like, oh, let me figure out how to make my website and like how to get my message out. So you have people, I'll admit, like people like me who, and other people who are sort of like getting a lot of people's attention, but the people who are actually doing the work, and the ones that are like doing the science of like they're not worried about their Twitter account, their Facebook account, like how they're going to get their research out. So then when they're in later in life, like, I hate to use Jack Safardi as an idea, as an example, but I feel like he now is like, look at all this shit that I've done, like people need to pay attention, but it's almost too late because he's like at the last minute being like, yo, like check out all this stuff that I've done. But like people are already so tuned into what other influencers and people who are, got their attention more, that a lot of the people who have actually been doing the work are struggling with the marketing side of it.
So you don't think it's some kind of a secret keeper thing?
I mean, I think that has been going on. Like the stigma side of it is probably been trying to, but I also think that in a sense, like social media and a lot of the platforms nowadays have like even the field to where somebody can talk about their stuff or go on an appearance in a podcast and instantly be kind of platformed into the attention. And it's just kind of like of like keeping the attention of people nowadays to being relevant of what you're doing in the field. But yeah, that's the challenge. That's a really challenging thing. It's a good question.
Yeah, so I kind of look at it, and I kind of look at it like science has kept us in these little box, and people have probably heard me say this before. the science and their failure to accept that there are things there that might be just outside of our five senses. So if we can't see it with our five senses, it must not exist. I think that's kept us in this tiny little box. Their laws of physics that they had wrapped their minds around certain things many years ago, but then those things were never allowed to change and evolve and develop. And I think, just from my personal experience, a lot of the things that I used to believe were supernatural or would have been classified as magic, it's not supernatural or magic at all. It's just physics that we don't understand. And I think that, there are people waiting for disclosure because they believe that disclosure in and of itself will open up the door for private money and private science and private academia to perhaps to study these things and maybe push us a little further down the road.
For me, that's basically parapsychology. Like that's what a lot of when people talk about the woo, or the type of experiences that a lot talk about in the spaces, they get to this type of like parapsychology where were people who really tested this out, and they were like, okay, there's this psychic stuff happening between everyone. Basically, like, humans go through this, it's a natural process. Like, how do we scientifically show that this is taking place? And that was how the science started, is like taking like people's precognitive dreams and um clairvoyance, and people who are interested in testing this type of stuff, and like making it scientifically validated.
Yeah, so much of that research has actually already been done. So we come back to that question, well, where is it? How come we're not hearing about it? How come it's not more mainstream? How come there's not more acceptance of the things that we cannot see, but they actually can be measured and proven? And yet, we're still kind of all in these rooms waiting for disclosure.
No, and I think am I'm much more interested and have a historic interest in parapsychology when I first got involved in this, and that's what people in the field are questioning now and are so puzzled about. And one of the events, like online events, Leslie Keene came on, and they were, people like parapsychologists were asking them, like, how, like, there's so much research into remote viewing, there's so much research into ESP, like how did the UFO topic basically like leapfrog all of this stuff with no credibility? Like, there's nobody studying this, there's no journal articles. And she was like, it's been all journalism. Like, there's nobody that's like, there's no Corbells in the psychic field, there's no Ross Coulharts, there's no people that are like in the news, like out in front of this, that are covering the psychic topic like they are in the UFO field. And so that's why it's basically, it has been the science that has propelled this UFO topic at all. It's been journalism and these people who, are like covering the topic and are like become figures and are kind of driving the attention to it. And so I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, and then we get right back to the journalism and, even the people who are out there doing the work and, putting it forward. And we're kind of right circling back to the first topic, which is a lot of these people are then called grifters, and they get debunked and their work is not taken seriously. So I wonder if we're just all our own worst enemy at this point.
I hope not.
We haven't heard from UFO Shane. I wonder if he fell asleep. I'm sure he has something to say about it.
Well, hell, anybody can pop up. We're got an open discussion going. I'm going to keep this space going. I had a space scheduled with Nathan from the Amazing People podcast, and we rescheduled. And I also announced UFO Twitter Week this week. So it's an event that I like doing and have planned out with some of the people in this room, like Holly and some others, with just getting some spaces together and some more coordinated type of discussions about the phenomenon, whether it's consciousness or UAPs or phenomenon dreams, that sort of thing. So yeah, feel free for anybody to jump up and join the discussion. We're just kind of hanging out today on Friday afternoon, so chilling.
So, Astral, what do you think then about the idea that disclosure, so let's just say it takes a majority of humanity, or 50-60%, the idea that disclosure in and of itself and bringing the phenomenon into our awareness can actually affect some obscure laws of physics and actually give them the power then to come through even more. I asked this before. I'm not sure if I'm asking the question correctly or putting it out there correctly.
So like their way to influence us, whether it's like metaphysical, I do think like a lot of people like Jacques Vallée, man, I'd love to hear from Jacques Vallée, about all lately anything that's been going on. But it's sort of like that the phenomenon has interacted with us differently through our understanding of like technology or technological development, and that the type of experiences that people have had have gone along with what type of understanding that we have, not only of I guess like consciousness, but of like technological development from electricity and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then the idea is that the more we believe, the more they can actually physically manifest into our reality, that we actually have to believe before they can physically manifest, I think is the idea. And it comes from some memo that was written back in the 40s or 50s, I believe.
That's why like summonings and stuff are so like intriguing to me because there's a lot of like overlap between like guardian angel or demon summonings where they would back the alchemists would like use those to summon angels or demons or whatever to locate treasure, and there's like all kinds of overlaps with aliens, but like I find it fascinating that they're like just by saying something is what starts it, almost like you said, almost like I guess believing in the words at first. It's interesting how
The
that like kicks
intention,
off the
yeah.
process.
Go ahead, Shane. What up, man?
Yeah, actually, I just want to say great space. I have to go. The mechanic that's working on my car just called me. I got to go. I got to go to fucking O'Reilly's and buy a starter apparently now. So I'll be back later tonight. I'm gonna go deal with real life shit because once again I'm trying to get my shit in order. But love the space, love you guys. Y'all have a great night. You have a great day. Good conversation. I'm gonna go deal with this goddamn mechanic. Y'all have a good one.
Later, bro.
Later, man. Taylor, what's up?
Yo, I'd love to drop a quick note about, I guess, my understanding of psychic permission and the metaphysical, the psychic field. Um, I think the idea that I guess the aliens could visit if we believe in them or invite them is because there's a big crossover, I guess, in the spiritualism field. Obviously, any type of I guess, summoning or, a lot of the seances in the spiritualism movement, there's a big effort to, one, get the group curious, believing, and then also to get them to like verbally and mentally create an invitation. And I guess there's a couple levels happening. One is always like a metaphysical element because I guess human consciousness can touch other non-human consciousness, and many the I guess the barrier between physical contact is a bit separate, and so I think CE5 is taking place on a bit more of a mental level. Even the craft that are appearing could be the mental thought forms of I guess physical craft. There's a book called The Law of One, which talks about the thought form UFOs versus physical craft UFOs. And then let's see, I'll try and wrap up my little bit here. But I do think there is some element of belief that, especially that happens about like how openly in contact the alien beings would be with us. The last thing I'll say is that I think for any peaceful species who wants to make contact with us, like, you know what it's like to try and the process of taming, you know, animals in the wild is very long-term friendship, and you have to build a lot of trust. And so we are still a bit of a rabid species as humans here on Earth, you know, fighting against each other. And so, like, they're still at a very wary stage, I think, to make uh, any deep level of contact, even surface level of contact, because we have such a fearful response, you know, especially the military systems around the planet trying to, you know, feeling highly threatened by any sort of presence that is not their own.
How's everybody going there?
So yeah, that's my little bit on psychic permission and contact.
Taylor, can you mute your mic quickly? And I posted this idea up in the nest, and I would just love to hear from anybody on this, just like you just shared with us, Taylor. The memo, he said, theorized that obscure laws of physics might prevent them from entering our reality without first convincing us that they were real, and that official admission might be the tripwire that would enable them to come through. And I like to kind of put that out there with the fact that we have, you know, look, I'm not up to date on all of the, you know, all of the people in this community, or, you know, who's who or who's saying what. But we do have people out there saying that disclosure might not end up being a good thing.
Hey,
And
guys.
I put it together with this little memo, which I think came from Whitley Strieber somewhere along the line. And I just wonder if this could be what people sometimes are referring to, like, be careful what you wish for. We think we want disclosure, but perhaps official disclosure actually leaves us vulnerable in some ways.
So I've been meditating now for 9 years. I've gone through CE5.
Aren't some of us vulnerable anyway, without choice, if you're a targeted individual? What does that mean?
Well, as I got into recently in the last few months on the hemisync meditations.
Is this thing on?
I can hear you, old vet. I'm not sure if anybody heard me or.
Am I talking on somebody?
I hear you, old vet. Oh boy, here we go.
All right, cool. All right, here's how. Oh, sorry, guys. I didn't mean to come up in this space like I normally do, just failing up into some shit. Sorry. So, yeah, let me rehash on the targeted individuals shit. We talked about this. Was it last night, Astral, in that space that we were talking about John Ramirez, and he was talking about the Jason and Mitocorp Human Genome Project study, where they found the whole hybrid thing. Not only are there hybrids, some are tweaked just a little bit more, and those are the individuals, Star Kids, Scott Andrews, Dan, all these Project Preserve Destiny, all these individuals, right, that I've kind of been interested, looking for. So now the CIA is very interested in those individuals that John talks about being slightly tweaked. So picture everyone's on the cusp of the same evolution. People are evolving. Some people are being evolved now. It's not a matter of this person's better. I hate when people try. It's not. Everyone's evolving. Some are doing it now. And he's talking about those individuals are the ones CIA is interested in, a.k.a. Yeah, it's literally targeted individuals. Matter of fact, it's a movie called Firestarter. How wild is that shit?
You mean the one with Travis Walton?
Firestarter, not Fire in the Sky. Get back to your remote viewing spaces, Astral.
Damn it.
It's all right, bro. I love you anyway. You know what's funny is I've met. Oh, I forgot his name again. Let's get ready to say I've met him a dozen times. I keep forgetting his Travis. It's just I can't play shit sometimes, so I get it. We got a hand up in here, but no, you were close. You had fire in the word, Astral. You got a point.
Probably because I'm hitting that fire.
Imas, is that how we say your name? If not, correct me.
It doesn't really matter. It's MS. Just a quick question. I know that somebody was talking about Gary Nolan and the exotic materials that he has or whatever, and I think that he had mentioned that he had like 3 different samples, and I believe one of them was said to be the bismuth. Do we know where he got that from? Did that come from like TTSA, which came from Linda Moulton Howe, which came from Art? I'm just curious. I have no idea.
You talking about the honeycomb material? I don't know if that's the bismuth. I think if so. I do know a story. It's not a story actually from an individual that was once in a program. So the Bob White's material was legit, and that material was taken over by TTSA, and then that material was snagged by Hal and taken to his fucking business for guess what? An Army contract. You can go to Project 1947, actually, if you guys want. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. If you go to Project 1947, there's actually a list on there, and it actually has all the supposed crash exotic materials with all the different analysis being done and some quotes and stuff. So it's on my Twitter, but I'm lazy. So, and go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
no worries. That's actually helpful. That's kind of what I was curious about, just because I have no idea how many pieces of material there may or may not be. And I know that bismuth is one that's been talked about and popular for, decades now. And I'm just wondering, is this all relating back to the same one sample? So yeah, I'll check that out. Thank you.
I do know that a lot of people get misconstrued. Not you, but people want to argue that it's a common this, a common that, but it's not because of the isotopes. That's the difference, right? A lot of people say, well, it's aluminum. It's set the isotopes. It's a manufactured process that we don't manufacture. That's the big thing.
Hey, Emus, Fringe had a great question, and Shane, feel free to chime in too. Like, what is the smoking gun for you that you think will get people to really pay attention to this topic, whether it's evidence or I said it was like more experiential, but what for you do you think either personally or you think, throughout society will get people paying attention as a smoking gun?
Yeah, that's a good question. Just off the top of my head, I think it's going to take multiple things, right? So it's not going to be one thing. It's going to be pretty much everything that's already been discussed. For some people, it's going to need to be a government official. It's going to need to be somebody that they voted into office through all the correct channels because that's their vibe. That's where they need to get. That's what they need, um, for confirmation, right? For some people, like you said, Astral, it's going to be an experience of some kind. For other people, it might not be an experience, but more of a journey of personal research and doing, investigation and research on your own. It's going to be different for everybody. I got to go. Bye.
Bye. She got busted being a UFO weirdo. I think that's what happened.
I'll probably that sounded like kids in the background. I can relate.
Shit.
Old vet, what new research did you come up with today?
I spent the day actually. What was I looking at? Oh, here's what I'll talk about. I think I just posted it too. So I came across this independently, and so I wasn't really going to talk about the stuff yet. But apparently, when I had a few too many beers last night, I just blabbed company names and everything. So if I'm dead, I'm dead. But so Tom DeLonge's books, or you can go to a website called xcorp.com. All that is it's a stand-in company, XCorp, for everything that's going on, but place it with BlackRock. BlackRock, Blackwater. Blackwater's the one that did MH370. Blackwater is also the crash in Alaska, NGO. So Blackwater, the same company that killed a bunch of civilians in Iraq, Eric Prince got away with this shit, assassinated for BlackRock. Why? Well, there's a whole semiconductor thing. You guys can kind of go read about that. But here's the cool part about that. If you keep going on that semiconductor thing, the United States government has a full-on initiative between sentient, all the different programs are AI related. all the different defense things coming up, or guess what? Semiconductor needed. So it's a billionaire shadow war, man. If you go and look at Larry Fink's what is his future tech shares, what he's got in there, it'll give you the tip right there. Oh, well, that makes perfect sense that he did that then, right? Because most of his shares are semiconductors, AI businesses, things that would rely on. So there's something in that patent. And a lot of people like to say, oh, well, the patent was normal. It was nothing special. Something doesn't add up and make sense because they went through the process to do that. So again, it wasn't aliens. This is the big secret, guys. This is the scary part that they've been talking about. It's not necessarily aliens all the time. We got NGOs, like Tom DeLonge has been talking about in his books, running a fucking muck with weapons our government can't even defend over. So do me a favor, guys. If you want to hear the rest of this, it'll probably end up getting me murdered. Retweet the space, like it. If we get more people in here, I'll risk my life. Other than that, I ain't risking my life for 60 people. Fuck off.
Let's get 100.
But you can go look right now, and I'm not fucking around. Here's the problem, and I keep saying this. If UFO Shane was in here, I'd smack him around and tell him again. When people completely discount something because it doesn't fit in their box, you lose a piece of the puzzle. This puzzle is so fucking easy to put together, I'm kind of embarrassed. It's not like I'm a superstar, right? It's just most people don't want to say, look, they don't want to look like the meme Charlie. Oh, like fucking, because you sound and look like Alex Jones, because we've been stigmatized, conditioned to, and it's all bullshit. So this is the thing that I want you guys to take away. I wouldn't fucking worry about the aliens. I'd worry about people like Eric Prince, who have a fucking portal gun and a craft, and the other companies that are battling a shadow war, billionaire war, right? And guess who fucking suffers? Those civilians were on that aircraft, and more people keep opening up to maybe it was real. But imagine all those lives fucking gone and no one batted an eye because all someone had to say was UFO or that's crazy.
So, Old Vet, what do you think this billionaire war is over? I mean, what do the billionaires want other than eternal life, transhumanism, being able to upload their own consciousness into some type of biological avatar that perhaps would last a couple hundred years? Alien Protocols came out with something in a space earlier today, and he said, and that guy is psychic as F, right? I mean, that guy is legit. Say what you want, the guy's legit. And he came out and said, you guys don't understand, at least some of these ETs are the elites. They're us with the advanced technology. They're ahead of us medically. They're ahead of us with technology, kind of along the lines of what you're saying, Old Vet. And it's funny because I've kind of come to some of that same conclusion. I haven't quite wrapped my mind around the whole thing, but I am definitely considering that some of the grays are perhaps us, messing with timelines. Like you said, the billionaire war, Shane, they're looking for immortality. They probably screwed the pooch at some point and they're possibly back from the future. I know all this stuff sounds Looney Tunes, but that has to stay on the table, I think. And I'm not explaining away all of the phenomenon. The phenomenon's been with us, for tens of thousands of years, well documented. But I think he could be onto something, and it kind of goes along with what you're saying, Old Vet.
I'll tell you that one of that I came to, like I said, I came to this conclusion just from research, and it's all there. But because I won't discount shit, and I often wonder maybe that's my role in this because my experience is so fucking wacky, and everybody knows in here I'll talk about all of it because it's like that, right? So I don't discount anything. That's why I'm also anybody want to make me a shirt? I need a shirt that says esoteric as fuck. I want that shit because that's also important, right? Because this is not a science thing. There's a reason Knights Templar and all these different organizations that were esoteric existed. And these organizations that I'm talking about, Freemason, things like that became predominant, bigger, and there's a reason for all of this. All of it's interconnected. Consciousness, the way we act. And you would ask me, just ask me a question, right? You think, what do I think it's about? Well, it's always about money. But what would you be, or what would you have if you had the ability to let's say, have the power of that Black Pyramid in Alaska. You knew how that worked. Say this, that Black Pyramid can allegedly, it produces enough energy to do, I think, Canada and Alaska. But what it does is this, it actually fires up a laser, goes to the atomic level of, I guess you'd say, minerals and rocks, and it separates them. Mining. Guess what that Black Pyramid's sitting on? It's literally on a freaking mound, right, of ore. So if you have technology like this, what else could you do with it? You don't have to do the process and everything else everybody does. You point a gun, you fire, photon hits it, the gold falls out, or whatever falls out. And that's what I kind of posted in the, I think I retweeted it talking about, I found that on X-Corp, how they were discussing it. That also gets us to this. Those things are powered by something. And what is that? Ley lines? Is that Thunderbolt project? Things that people discount continuously because it doesn't fit in our physics mold right now, right? But they're powered by something. And one of the things I'm thinking as well is, I think they power our fucking consciousness. I think that's what consciousness is, our connection, that third rail I always talk about. I think that's what those are connected to and pulling power from. And that's just a guess, but that's what it feels like.
Well, don't some people think that that's actually a control of our consciousness? Haven't we seen that out there somewhere?
Oh, yeah. So check this out. Pyramids. You can go around all over the world, right? And you can hear conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory about people putting pyramids here because it does this with energy. Well, that's real about what it does with energy. And it's also very real, hidden in plain sight. There's one in Memphis. All over the world, there's these things. Some are like that back there. But imagine if our government, they figured out there's a way to control with this stuff. And I always say Gwyn Towers, because Gwyn Towers was probably an early on version, or the tooth radio, right? Using ELF technology to control the masses. Where do you think they learn that shit from? Where do you think they get the tech from? And if you have this ability, you can also reach out through the phone right now. Every one of us right now in these rooms could be receiving ELF waves. Those waves can actually range, I think, from 3, maybe 4 hertz to 10 hertz or something, right? Those different ranges go from agony to elation. And you can also condition someone with those things, Manchurian candidate style. So that sounds some Alex Jones shit, but after posting that Black Pyramid, knowing what our government's willing to do to reverse engineer anything to get weaponization or whatever, right? Why wouldn't they? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that technology has actually, the experiments have been not only on individuals, but on entire cities with those electromagnetic waves. Yamar, welcome to the room.
Hello. Is my microphone working?
Yeah, you're good.
Yes.
Okay. It's my first time here. Hello, I'm Yamara, your friendly Magus on X. And to go along with the esoteric Magus. I just wanted to cover what a previous topic concerning why consensus reality is based on whether people believe in UFOs or not. It's mostly just a prime directive violation problem. If the negative forces land, that would prove absolutely that reality is that all the people that want a positive contact is wrong, and all the people that want a negative contact is right. And if positive ETs land, that proves the opposite. So you have half the world have their free will. Whoever they want to contact is negated. There's absolute proof, which means you're wrong, which means nobody cares what your free will wants anymore. So the system is designed that it can't allow a species who doesn't know what they want to manifest to have absolute proof. Otherwise, it's not a free choice anymore. It's just there's a big prime directive problem.
You're saying it's a control system? Is that what you're saying? It's a control system?
You could think of it as a simulation system, I suppose. The administrators don't want you doing certain things. So, for example, if you want to manifest an independence war with the ETs, and that's the timeline you want, you're going to get that. And if you want positive space brothers, you'll probably get that too. But you can't, those two people can't exist in the same world. You're not in the same reality at that point.
So Yamar, what do you think about I posted this memo up in the Nest. I don't know if you've seen it, but what do you think about this idea that disclosure? So there are some people behind the scenes in our government who do not want disclosure because they're afraid that disclosure will actually give the negative side ETs power to infiltrate our reality, even more so than they already have.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, that was what I was addressing, because this knowledge that I was talking about, they know it in their own distorted fashion. So, being in the military and think having the idea that everything's paranoid, everything's out to get you, we have to secure the world, the nation, the family. They're looking at the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario is that if we do disclosure, the negative ETs will open a gateway and they'll be like Doom 2, and all the demons will come out and they'll be overwhelmed. And so, well, obviously, what about positive ET? They can land, but they don't. The military doesn't think about it. They don't care about positive ET. They want the technology. They don't have the technology. They don't have the control, and they don't have the control. They're not in control. They're messed up. So, from their point of view, yes, it makes perfect sense that they're looking at the worst case scenario, which is that if the public begins to believe in UFOs, it opens up the gateway to all the negative forces, and they're gonna land on here, and they have a lot better weapons than whatever the military has.
Right. What happens if the good ETs are doomed to?
That already happened, and from what I know, most of the life on Earth died as a result, because they started fighting over each other and, collateral
So
damage
look,
and all.
okay, I like that. I like what you just said. Well, I don't like the dark route that is, but what you just said, a restart. So, because why? They were fighting? They were what? Destroying this habitat, this Earth? Keep going with that.
Sorry, I have to explain some background. So, all these ancient civilizations that got reset, like some of them got reset because the positive ETs and the negative ETs started fighting in the space above the cities, and the cities went bye-bye because they started using these scalar weapons that would just uh,
Who the
destroy
fuck are you,
everything.
dude? Wait, hold up. Who are you, bro? You just said scalar weapon. So I know you're not normal UFO Twitter space person. So
Okay.
keep going with this shit. But yeah, scalar weapon. Keep going.
Okay. Scalar weapons are what was used on, let's say, 9/11 test, where you'd convert the material from metal into some glowing weird thing like Hawaii.
Yeah, dude, I heard that too, and I'm just saying, I'm not
You
a
guys can look it
conspiracy
up.
guy.
You guys
Yeah,
can
I
look it
heard
up.
it too.
You guys can look it up. It's not that strange. I mean, I'm only talking about because other people. I mean, everybody was talking about Hawaii. I mean, everybody. So so I can't prove how many different civilizations went past, but they've tried everything. They tried landing here. They had a fight about it. That destroyed most of the civilization, and they had to reseed everything. So this time they're refusing to land and prove that they're positive, because negative is just gonna land and say, "We're here too. Let's fight over. We own you guys." And then the positive say, "We no, no, no." And then when they fire the weapons, it's gonna be like Avatar. Everybody's shooting the weapons, and there goes your civilization. And so they don't want to do that anymore. So what they're doing is they're sending in covert agents, just like the negatives do. They send in the covert agents, they take over your government, and now you have a politician that doesn't look like he likes humans, because he's probably not your species anymore. And so the positives are also doing that, and the military's like, yeah, these guys, they have psychic powers. We got to watch them. We got to watch them. We got to abduct them. But we got to pretend it's the negative guys doing it.
Who the fuck are you, dude? Seriously, you've got some knowledge right now, and the stuff you're saying, you've got to be someone, because I can guarantee you the
No,
information
no,
you
I'm
have.
nobody. No,
Don't give
I'm
me
just
that
a
shit.
Meg. I'm just a Megas. I don't work for any military. I have signed no NDAs. I'm just like a hermit.
Okay.
I do
Wait. Okay,
consciousness.
keep going.
I do esoteric consciousness, magic, self development. The esoteric stuff. So
Well, I
I'm
like
not.
what
I
you're
never.
saying, so keep going, because
I'm
I'm
not.
actually on
I'm
the
not.
same page as you.
I know. I'm not on the U. I'm not a UFO researcher. I don't debunk things or look. I don't. I guess I was mostly focused on seeking enlightenment and other stuff back in 2016. So most of it's just a personal journey. But the public has gotten to the point where you guys are calling for the information. You guys want to know, so you're gonna find out somehow. Somehow the universe will give you a way to find out, and apparently that means that people like me can appear in public. For some, I can appear in public somehow now.
Hey, I would give him a follow. I don't know who the fuck he is, but he's got to be. I would definitely give him a follow. I just did. I like your profile too, by the way, man. What's the profile picture with the Pentagon up in the center?
It's a energetic photo I commissioned of a seer. They can read your energy waves. I don't see auras. I don't see dead people. I don't see any of that. My psionic abilities are different. It's a different skill. I
Ooh,
wanted.
psionic. I love that
How
word,
old?
bro.
Wait.
Psionic.
How old are you?
I'm almost 40.
Right on, man. Can I ask you a couple more questions?
Yeah, go ahead. I love questions. We can't actually say anything unless you ask us questions.
Okay. Are you a star kid?
You mean a
Indigo
variation of
child?
that?
Yeah, a variation of that, like what John Ramirez discusses.
Yeah, like a very strange variation of that. I don't belong to any specific star nation. I was born a human. I lived on this planet like the rest of you, and I don't like this
Do you
world,
communicate?
the current state any more than you guys do.
Communicate?
My communication goes to the heart chakra, which is like is more of an intuitive thing. There's no abduction. There's no voice in the head. It's just here's
I
some
feel that.
information.
That's how I am. That's actually how I am. So I feel you on that. So anything UFO related that would make it stand out, something or event, or perhaps, I don't know, let me think. Were you ever in any classes when you were younger for special kids? And by special, I mean good special, not Shane
Most
special.
Mostly gifted and AP, nothing too abnormal.
What color are your eyes?
Probably brown.
You know what your IQ is?
When I took the Mensa test, it was about. The Mensa requires 98% on the Ravens test. I scored about at 92%. But I read Prometheus Society, and I was arguing with the former president of the Prometheus Society, and he did not understand anything I was talking about.
They
Like,
can't
come
keep up
on,
with you,
man.
can they?
You're the former president of Prometheus Society. Well, why isn't my basic English not getting to you? It's like, but there's a lot of people in Mensa that can actually follow my research. But most people can't seem to follow what I'm thinking.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, I get you there too. Let me ask you this. Okay, did you ever remember? Damn. What's another question? So, did you have any memories of being harassed or screwed with by people that you don't necessarily know who they were?
Because my psionic abilities probably was really activated as a kid, but I didn't know what it was at the time. I went to Disneyland and I started crying because there's a lot of dark stuff going on there. So I didn't know any of that. So I don't know if it's happening.
Did it
It's
just
probably
happen? Was
happening.
it a pop?
It was happening to other people, and I was picking it up. That was probably it.
So let me ask you this: did it feel like a switch turned on, like almost a pop? Not a loud pop, but like you felt your head pop, and then it was all there.
No, I didn't get any recall like that. Those seem to be like your memory triggers. You have to implant that consciously or intentionally before being born here, something like that.
Right on, man. This is my kind of stuff. Everybody else is like, "What the hell's happening in here?"
Yeah, sorry for the info, dumb guys, but
Don't be sorry.
but
I'm the one asking you questions. This is the info they need, and they're going to be held hostage to listen to it.
well, people have the right to believe and the right not to believe. So you have the right to know the truth and the right not to know the truth. So for the people that don't want my information, then I'll just say, a fake magician online that doesn't matter to them. And the people that want to know, like you, they may find some use for me. For the people that are undecided, you can decide sometime later.
Okay,
In that way, it respects your
yeah,
free will.
Mars. So we were in a conversation on the chess game, and we were talking about how the chess game has already been won. It's already in checkmate, so to speak. And you made a couple comments that I was really interested in, because you mentioned that even though the game perhaps is in checkmate, one side could actually wipe out all the pawns and just kind of try to make an effort to destroy the game regardless. Can I hear a little bit more about that? Because talking and verbal is always better than the writing part.
Checkmate in chess means that you have attacked the enemy king in such a way that you have restricted their ability to defend, and they have no way of getting out of the checkmate, which hasn't happened yet. The Cabal still has many pieces they can move, and many sacrifices they can do, and many weapons they can just pull out of their whatever to delay things. So what we have is an extremely high strategic advantage, and the Cabal is having a lot of problems. They used to be able to just kill people like on Titanic. Everyone said, yeah, that was just a natural disaster. It's really unfortunate all the people against the Federal Reserve just ended up dying somehow on the Titanic. It's just really tragic. And nobody believed in the conspiracies, like, except crazy people like JFK assassination and stuff. But now you have where the public is actually awakening. It's very difficult to control people when they realize that there's something strange going on. So you have only a few thousand people in the Cabal, plus there are a couple thousands of millions of minions who are trying to control 8 billion or 5 billion or whatever, how many humans are on this world. And that's very difficult. It's very difficult to do that. When for the last 6,000, 10,000 years, you've had it easy. Like, you don't like that guy, just use some magic and he dies. And so easy, so easy. No, nobody even questions it. But now it's like, they can't even get rid of Donald or RFK Jr. or Alex Jones or Joe Rogan. All these people, they use just with a snap of their finger, they would just be dead. In fact, they would do it worse. They would kill you like Joan of Arc and then make you a saint. And then you say that, oh, Joan of Arc, she's on our side. We killed her, but she's on our side. So you're on our side now. You like Joan of the Arc? Joan of Arc, you're on our side now. So they just used to do that all the time. Anyway, sorry if I didn't answer the question.
Don't apologize, man. And before we get to Jay, just thanks for talking about that stuff. Not everybody's comfortable with hearing some of this, believe me. But in these spaces, you're always welcome to talk about it. Do me a favor, guys, retweet the space. Because, again, I'm not going to tell you shit's going to get me killed with, 60 people in here? My life's worth at least 67 people up in here. So, Jay, just go ahead.
Sorry, my dog's barking. I just wanted to know, who are the Cabal? I don't know who the Cabal are.
You could call them the bloodline families that were the high priests of the ET overlords a couple thousand years ago, and now they're controlling the finance and the political situation on Earth, which is why the situation is not very good for humanity. Not very good for humanity right now.
So you're saying that the Cabal are really the ETs are in charge of our universe, our Earth, basically our society.
You could think of it as infiltration. Instead of trying to conquer civilization, you just insert your soul fellows into the human and have them take control from the inside out.
What about just being greedy humans? Do you have any proof for what you say?
Of course, it's greedy humans, but the question then is, it's very difficult to say, is Elon Musk human or is he ET? Is
I'd like to
Bill
also
Gates
add, though,
human or ET?
Okay, but what's your
just
proof?
to back this up? Well, hold up. Just to back him up, what I'll say is this. In this subject, we're going to have a very hard time finding proof. Why? Because our government will rather kill you, your family, their family to hide it. But I will say that the stuff that he's saying right now, the stuff that he's currently saying right now about all of this, so I actually
it's fine. It's fine if you have. It's fine if you have proof. The one proof is psionic ability. So people that have the ET lineage, they tend to master the psionic ability. So you had to look into the psychic phenomenon and see who are the real psychics, who are not. So psychic phenomenon means empathy. Yeah, empathy, telepathy, remote viewing,
right. And I've done remote viewing, and I'm not ET, and I believe everyone is psychic. Everyone has the ability.
Oh, you're ET. You're at least half. You just don't know it yet.
I don't know if you're ET or not. It's just
I mean, you're allowed
The
to
ET
believe what
lineage
you
have.
want, but I am finding it
Right.
hard to believe it.
Here's what I wait.
I'm
Hold up.
just
Let me say this,
addressing.
guys.
I'm just addressing.
He was answering my questions, and I will say this: what he's telling you guys now, I can actually point you to probably 3 or 4 different places that I actually specifically read. And here's the name they were given: Tall Grays, Orion Grays. Actually, one of their keys is subterfuge. What they do is go from planet to planet, pretend they're your friends. They ingratiate themselves. They bring themselves like their partners. They take over hosts, certain people, bloodlines. They can do this with, right? All these things in multiple places that he's talking about. Doesn't mean it's real, because you are right. You have to use your filter. But that's why I was having him talk about it, because these are places that I do a lot of my research that I don't find bullshit. And I can promise you, you can talk to other people who've heard the same thing, that the whole plan is that they're your friends, they subterfuge, they get themselves in. But there's a million different fucking opinions, probably things here.
She's right that every human has the potential to psionics. What I refer to is such a high level in psionics that they just.
Yeah, John Ramirez. Oh, so this is what I was trying to talk about earlier. So John Ramirez actually talks about all of us have this. Basically, we're hybrids. Probably have this ability. Some of us are tweaked a little more for a reason, and that reason is not because you're fucking special. You want to be used. They want to use you as a communicator, telepathy, psi abilities, whatever. And then that's why it brought to the whole targeted individual is also those people. That's why I asked you if you've been harassed, messed with, because individuals that tend to have the Peter tingles, that's what I call the shit, the Peter tingle, right? Those individuals are the ones that are targeted because the CIA is interested in them. And if you are one of those individuals, with permission, you can go to native land where the treaties are, right? Those treaties that were very fucking real for a safe haven. But you got to get permission. Don't be just running up on native land if you don't belong there.
So, Olvet, before we get to the hands, I would just like to ask Yamar again. So, Yamar, you don't see this game, this chess game, as already being won. You just see the so-called good side as having, or the side of the light having an extreme advantage. But you don't see it already won. You see it as there's a lot of moves left, and it could go either way.
Right.
Or am I putting words in your mouth?
I don't think it's gonna go either way, but they can always stalemate. They can always hope that the opponent makes a mistake. It's because they should have forfeited a long time ago, because their position is almost unwinnable, like 99% unwinnable. But they refuse to give up. They refuse to give up their control. They don't. That's just how they are. I'm sorry, but they refuse to give up. They still want to keep playing. They've like down 5, 10 pieces. They still want to run out the clock. That's just what it is. I don't think they're gonna win.
Hey, real quick, guys, do me a favor before we go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Retweet the space. There's not enough people in here. We got 2 people with their hands up here. Where is everybody? You don't have questions? I would have a lot of questions about what. There you go, Andrew. What? Oh, Andrew puts it right back down. I guess I intimidated him. Sorry, buddy. So my point being, get up here, ask questions. If you want to talk about something else, get up here and bring it up, or at least put it in this thread. If you put a link in there and you at me, I'll throw it up in here and we can discuss it. If it's something that you find important, you'd like to know about. People actually go through these spaces. The best part about these spaces compared to everything else out there, you have an archive, bottom right, that thread. People can access this space and then go through and click as we're talking, do whatever they want to do, right? So do that, retweet, and let's get over to whoever's next. I think it was Carolyn.
Good evening, beautiful, weird people. This has been great so far. I got a question for Yamar. You were speaking about cabals. Do you think with what we're seeing in society now is kind of like a Khazarian kind of revival that's kind of showing its head now? I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff that's going on in the world, and I didn't know if you had anything on Khazarian theory or the Khazars or anything like that.
Yeah, because Khazar will be somewhere around Ukraine, and they're one bloodline family. They tend to be the most, no disrespect intended, but very genocidal. They're the kind of people that would release a bioweapon and just say, the hell with the rest of you. If I'm not gonna win the Earth, neither will the rest of you live on the Earth. That's just how they think. I don't know why. Maybe if you look at Genghis Khan and Temujin, his bloodline came into it. they're kind of, even for the Cabal bloodlines, they're kind of extreme. But there are many different families, 12, 13, I don't know. I don't know these people personally, but I know of them. Does that answer your question?
I think I'm Cabal. I think I'm a Cabal bloodline. But don't worry, we're friends, bro. So you're good. And I only mention that because the stuff you're talking about, I keep thinking to myself, I think I'm on the wrong side of this bloodline argument as we're discussing it. So, hey guys, you're always welcome in this space. I don't give a fuck what bloodline I'm from, right? You can eat each other outside of the space. So, Jay, just go.
I think Andrew was next.
Andrew, go.
I'm not really next, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, if you don't mind. There's a quick question for Yamar. Anybody else that wants to answer it, but really for Yamar, I wondered if you have any thoughts. I would just say thoughts, hopes, beliefs, expectations, and you can say no comment if you like. But I was very curious what you think about a world teacher type figure. I don't know, I think a lot of religions tend to expect some kind of a savior, avatar, messiah, and I tend to think that that's part of the equation. So I just thought I would ask if you're willing to share your take on that, and I appreciate it if so. Thanks.
Your free will, Andrew, has to be respected. So you're gonna get the teacher that your grade level is appropriate. So someone in the third grade is not gonna get a mentor from the 12th grade. So in the third grade, you're not gonna have be forced to learn calculus. You don't have to believe me or disbelieve me. It's just meaning if I tell you something that you do, what's the proof in that? It's like it's hard to say. What's the proof the guy in fourth grade is more right than the guy in third grade? Well, the guy in fifth grade says the guy in fourth grade is wrong, and the guy in sixth grade says the guy in third grade is wrong, and the guy in seventh grade. So it's impossible to have a Earth school where there's one master teacher. This has to be different communities like this that makes sense to you where you're at. And some of you will get higher, and some of you will get higher slower, and some of you will get really high, and you will then get access to more information. It's like your security classification goes higher and higher, you get more access to more teachers or a different teachers. But I don't foresee that there will be one master teacher unless you go into a negative timeline and you have to convince that guy's your lord and leader. That's probably not a good timeline for you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so what I wanted to say was regarding psi. I believe, this is my own belief, that everything is consciousness and everything is connected. So basically, even our, every being on this earth is consciousness, and every being has the ability to tap into what we call the collective. And that's my belief, that when you're utilizing psi, you're tapping into a collective consciousness. I think everything in the universe is connected. I think every being is connected. I think that's what I believe. You are me, I am you, and I'm part of the earth, and the earth is part of me. So, and so on and so forth. So that's what I wanted to say about that. I don't believe it has anything to do with being ET. They might have the same thing. There could be plenty of beings. There's lots of beings living on our bodies. Lots of creatures living on our bodies. Life is everywhere in the universe. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it's everywhere. So it's nothing to be freaked out about. And
You just
nothing
tell us that we
to
had
create
alien
an occult.
parasites?
Could
Did you
be.
just tell us we had alien parasites, Jay Jess? They're all over our bodies?
They
That's
probably
freaking
look
me out.
alien.
Oh, I
Yeah,
definitely
you
look
got
alien.
parasites that look alien, and little bugs on you that look alien. So, yeah, like
Like
life
a
is very
tardigrade.
complex. We're a very complex system. It's a system, and
Do you
that's the
think
way
we're
I
all
look at it.
human, Jay Jess? I'm being a serious question. Do you think we're all human, or do you think there's been some messing
We
around
could
with
have been
our
tweaked.
DNA?
I believe there was some tweaking, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing or a good thing. It just is. And we are what we are now. And I think the real test is how we treat each other and how we treat the earth and how we go forth as humanity. And right now, we're not doing so well, are we? So I think that's the most important thing to focus on. And I think we all feel the same. I'm just saying what we all feel at this point.
Well, that's the question. So, what if we start? Let's say the tall grays or whatever this is, the light beings. Let's call them that. We'll call them the light beings because they don't have a form. They're probably projecting the shit, right? Let's say they started out material like we did, and there was a light being before them to help them graduate to where they need to be. If, like you, because I agree with you, we're all consciousness, we're different expressions of the same thing. That consciousness is the electric rail everything runs on. And if you learn how to interact with it in the appropriate way, hack that shit, let's say gateway, things like that, you can do wondrous things. Thomas Bearden, Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Bearden, sorry, he actually wrote a paper, The One Human Problem, but there's also other people that talk about it, right? What if the point of life is literally to graduate from this physical being to become your own spiritual, right? To go from this material form to get to where they're at. And that's what those gifts they are giving us are for. And I say gifts because it's not a coincidence that we're getting tech when we need tech and we're constantly upgrading tech. And most people who aren't caught up don't know this. Most of our tech and the upgrades are coming from crash retrievals and things like that. Some of the biggest things we've ever got, including nuclear. Magenta, go look it up.
But what
right?
is this tech, and what are these beings? Come from the same place.
Consciousness. That's my
Right.
point.
It
And
comes from the
I
same
think
place.
this, JJS, I think their job, what they're trying to do, this is just my opinion. It doesn't mean they're good or bad, but maybe the whole point in this fucking game is you get to where they're at, you got to go down to help the low levels, the noobs, right? You go down there, you throw them some fucking bones, you try to get them, because what else is there to do? By then, you should. Now, I can't put my human brain to it. By then, you should be out of the whole war aspect because it does not gain you shit. I guess you could take everything. But by then, you should be into there's something else. When you're there, that something else, I imagine, is the whole picture, because now you go from being a part of that whole picture to feeling like you run it. So you feel a little responsibility. And I think anybody, species or whatever, that's my opinion, obviously, would eventually get to a point, maybe you get fucking bored and you're like, look, dude, I can't sit around doing nothing. Let's go make these guys into some cool shit, right? But I think that's the game on a lot of this. It's an upgrade. We're following them to where we're supposed to go, but we keep fucking up. That's also why I think we're in some big trouble, because nuclear was for power and good. When you fuck around with the gods and their gifts, they get pissed. Now ask yourself, I say that, and I ended with a really happy note last night. If you don't think there were civilizations before us, you need to start going out and doing some reading. Now here's the thing that gets to me. What happened to them? Where are they at? And why is it that we can really find barely any evidence they existed? They did. We have evidence, but barely any. So how many resets has there been? Are these resets on a button? Are these resets the paradox, the Fermi paradox? That's the shit that gets to me. I actually laid awake last night thinking about that. As soon as I woke up to fucking Mike's jump room, all I thought about was that shit, right? I woke up and the first thing I heard was Mike's screaming jump room in my stupid head. So go ahead, Carolyn.
It's fucking crazy. I was just thinking about, like, disappearance of civilizations and everything. And there's always, like, when you're growing up, you hear all these sayings about shit, and they say, like, make sure that shit's written in stone or whatnot. And then you think about communication differences and languages changing. And then you start looking at the Egyptians and the Mayans and these cultures and shit. And technically they're communicating through drawings. It's like shorthand form type shit. And it's the same thing we do with fucking emojis. It's like some of the weirdest shit ever. It's like, are we doing this on purpose to ourselves? Do we not know what's happening? But we use all these other forms to communicate besides language. And I just I don't know if we are the next fucking the reset that's going to happen. Like, it kind of looks like we're going that way.
Well, supposedly it's about time that we get reset.
It is.
On past.
We're gonna have a reset party, guys. Retweet the space. So check it out. No shit. I know I've heard this before. Jim Semivan actually talks about when he was sat down and told the true nature of the phenomenon. Kind of messed him up a little bit. I haven't even been exposed to probably all the true nature or I can promise you this last week or two, and I'm not even exaggerating. I've been going through how many stages of fucking grief are there? I'm not kidding. I've been struggling, trying to wrap my brain around things, and I've been going through it. And it's like, and these are things that, and before anybody says, well, then tell us, don't talk. No, man, if I don't have proof, there's no way for me to talk about shit like that. It just gets people uppity. And because again, now I kind of understand. I've been struggling with that because sometimes it's just as horrible as it sounds, right? And I've been kind of like, man, what's the fucking point? One of those type of things, right? Like, and it gets to me. So ask yourselves what that could mean. And I'm not the only one that said shit like that. Not the only one. So ask yourselves that. Now start thinking about things like, and I'll go ahead and tell you this right now. I'd pay attention to it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. Pole shift. Why? I can tell you. You can go out and do some research on your own. Matter of fact, you can go and look at some of these civilizations before and ask yourselves, what was it that did this? Pole shift.
Well, we were
Ask
talking
yourself.
about like global consciousness, bro, and if there's like signals that people are getting through these paranormal experiences of like something that's happening in the future that we're gaining awareness of.
Look, I think those pyramids play a huge role. I think I don't know this for a fact. I think they're part of whatever we consider consciousness is what they're drawing from, and I don't know how they're drawing it. Those pyramids,
Oh,
that energy, you know
Odvet.
what I mean?
Yeah, Odvet, I wouldn't worry about the pole shift destroying civilization. If
Dude,
something
I
does
was like
reset
crying
it,
myself to
it's
sleep.
I know. If something does get reset or destroyed, it's going to be the financial system and the current rulers of this earth.
So, Yamar, do you see this as the last cycle?
No, there's still going to be at least 1,000 years or a couple hundred years, depending on what happens in your future. So it's not. It's just getting started. So normally, yes, previous civilizations at a certain point, what happened is that all the graduates disappeared somewhere, and you get left with the repeats, the failures, and they become the Aztecs and the crazy people. And their civilizations reset. They lose all their technology from Atlantis and Mariah. They just had to restart over again. And it's just kind of some kind of graduation. Some people graduate, some people don't. Right now, though, what you're seeing is when an entire civilization graduates without destroying themselves, which is what the cabal doesn't like to see, and what we're trying to manifest, at least.
I got a question. I want to know how you know him, Fringe. He just mentioned Lemurians, Atlanteans, and like didn't bat an eye and just kept on going, man. So if you're not paying attention, everybody pay attention. This is shit everyone should be learning.
Yeah, we were just very fortunate to have him pop into our spaces a couple weeks ago. And yeah, I really like everything he brings to the space. I love it.
It's fire, actually. This is the kind of shit I really enjoy. Same thing with, look, I may not always get along with everybody on UFO Twitter because we're a bunch of asshole personalities looking for answers and want to do, but I can promise you this, one of my favorite, if not the best podcasts out right now, bar none, is Klaus's and Garrett's. No one is talking about the stuff they talk about and approaching it like they do. If I could do a podcast because I wasn't an idiot and I could do more things, I probably would do it like that. So you guys need to check that out. I probably should link that shit in there. So Klaus and Garrett's podcast, it's Patterns Tell Stories. You got to check that shit out. It's literally the best podcast out there. Everyone else is asking the same fucking questions. They're the only ones talking about other stuff, and that stuff is important.
Yeah, no one wants to talk about the obscure laws of physics with me, and I only graduated from 9th grade, y'all. It's not a hard conversation, but it's something we have to address. Old vet, you were talking about bloodlines, and even though souls and bloodlines have to match and you can get born into a certain bloodline, it is still up to the individual to choose the dark or the light. Don't anyone in here think that you're stuck with your bloodline, or you're stuck with your hybridization, or you're stuck as an abductee, you're stuck helping them out, or what have you. you know, this is all about free will and our free will choices, and making the right choice, regardless of what bloodline or hybrid you've been born into.
That's correct. There's no good or evil bloodline. The source creator wants you all to experience your life and to heal and to grow, irregardless of what bloodline or ET race you came from. Everybody has to learn, and might as well start now.
Just for a primer, and I know, guys, always take things with your own filter. Anyone that likes to bitch and moan about people talking, you've got filters, right? Use them. But I want to know what kind of alien races you know to be here, or you think are here, or that you are part of your process.
Who are you asking?
Did we miss the question there, Ovette? You want to do that?
No one heard me? Yeah, I said, does anyone think I'm an idiot for no one hearing my question? That was my question. No.
I heard your question, but who is it to?
Oh, it's to you, brother. I'm sorry. It was to you. So,
okay.
What kind of species, what do you think, or what do you know to be here?
Well, the whole point of disclosure is that everyone here find it out for themselves. Using your free will, you decide what kind of world you will make and manifest. Not what the politicians are saying, not what the government are saying. You, your heart, your mind. So it doesn't really matter what I think. I'm just here to support because somebody called me here. I just saw you guys. I said, oh, let me see what this is, and that's just how it happens. You send what you want, what you really want to the universe, and the universe will give you a way, an opportunity. And so if you guys don't want to be a livestock, cattle, or the cabal, or some ETs or whatever, that's what you're gonna get. Somehow, if you believe it, if you keep working on it. As I say, I believe I'm gonna get a job. Shouldn't I train for the job? How long do I have to wait? Well, why can't you give me the job, man? I told you I want the job. You get the job by, working for it, right? You're on Earth, that's how it works. So, I don't know which ET forces are here. I'm just saying that, that Facebook CEO, he looks like Android. I'm just saying. It's just weird.
All right. I was just you could have taken some guesses. Like, I'm going to say that I think there's a galactic federation, no doubt. I think there's something along those lines. I'm leaning that way, but then again, I also know that the treaties were real. Pretty much anything that we've ever heard that was ridiculous, that then had some counter disinformation thrown in, they only throw disinformation for a reason, which also makes me really, really want to think about Project Serpico. Right? Why was Dodie disinfo in that?
If there is a galactic federation, always beware of identity thieves. Don't just click on every email that says that they're going to transfer $1,000 to your bank account.
Oh, that's true.
Always verify. Like, if you're the Galactic Federation, I'm gonna test you. Like, how much esoteric knowledge can you give me here? How much stuff can you give me that I can test in my own body? Like, you got enlightenment principles? Give it to me, and I'll test how it is. Are you actually enlightened? What's going on here?
And he's making a point because I mentioned the Galactic Federation because some of the different things I read, when I go in my rabbit hole, the only real information is buried so deep in these rabbit holes, most people won't even look for it. And then it talks about the Galactic Federation capturing some of the Orion Greys. The Orion Greys, the tall Greys, right? Because they're not necessarily our friends. And what they had figured out was these guys are hard to capture because the way they travel, the way they move, the way they interact is through frequency. They shift and they can go in and out and travel, and that also made me start thinking about these pyramids again. With these pyramids planted all over this planet, because it's also a frequency thing. Frequency shift is a way that they can exit the flow of time and re-enter any place they want. They can't go against it, like Dan Sherman says. They can't time travel in that aspect, but like us, they can take a portal. Speaking of portals, Jump Room in MH370 was very freaking real. Where's that Event? He's in here. I know. There's my boy Event. He's an MH370 fan like myself. I say fan, but it was horrific, and I'm not a fan of what happened. I just meant it's real. That was horrible. I'm not a fan of any of that shit, so please don't cancel me.
Well, I'll tell you what, bro. That there's a conversation with Jesse Michaels and the dude from like Unity or whatever today, and he was talking about like time travel, but like the information time travel, where like you're able to send information back through time to yourself through like precognitive means, like some like remote
So you
viewers,
mean
like
Project
crazy
Pegasus?
shit.
You mean Project Pegasus,
No,
Scott
it's like
Andrews?
Interstellar. Like when they go through the black hole, they find out that they've been sending each other. They've been sending themselves signals back through time.
Like messages,
Exactly.
yeah, but almost like through like
Oh
dreams
shit.
or like some way that you're able to pick up on
Your
it.
older self is sending you back messages. I like to believe that, like all the time.
Let me ask you this, Taylor. I never heard that, and I know earlier we were talking about accidental remote viewing and things like that, and I talk about shit being put in my head and jokingly like, is that aliens or humans putting shit in my head? Now I gotta wonder if it's my dumbass self putting stupid shit in my head.
Depends on when it happens, what stupid shit is coming up, and like it's kind of like remote viewing. And what's your general mindset at the time? You know.
It's usually this shit, man. I'm only doing this shit because I'm good at it. I'm only good at it because I get thoughts. Those thoughts lead me the right direction almost always, all the time, first time. I get a little bit of help here and there. I have sources, right? But I'm good at it because I have and it's not like I'm having superpowers. I'll equate it to this. You know, you have a niche in life. Unfortunately, I guess this is mine, but I see something or hear something in my head. I know where I need to go to find the rest of that. And it sounds stupid, cocky, but that's what I mean by I joke and I call it my Peter Tingle. Astral's heard it 1,000 times, right? Like I'll hear somebody say something, and then I'm just like, oh, that's not what it is. I need to go look at this. So that actually kind of blows my freaking mind, man, because I believe in time travel. Maybe I'm actually way cooler than I am now, and I'm helping myself. That's probably what's going on.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's what's going on with me too.
I can go on time travel all day long, man. I'm telling you right now. What you just said, everything we're talking about, right? I've been obsessed with the Star Kids, Space Kids, Project Preserve Destiny, all these hybrids. And I hate to say special because people get upset, like, you know, you're talking about some Aryan shit. And I don't mean like that. When I say special, I mean they've been tweaked for a purpose and they're just the start of the cusp of evolution, right? I've been obsessed with them. And
Yeah,
these are
your genetics is epigenetics. You change your genetics with your life choices. It's not set in stone.
And so here I am. I just keep going that actually I just keep running towards it. And it's funny how I keep failing. Sometimes I just keep this is why I said I need a shirt that says esoteric as fuck. I see like I think what was the other day was it how do you pronounce that word? Sarah Knights of National Security. I'm gonna say the fucking first name wrong. Anyway, that group of individuals that was esoteric. The reason they're esoteric for national security is I talked about it earlier. This whole thing needs to be approached like that. When I first saw that, I know I just talked about the aviary the day before, asking somebody questions, right? There's a reason I'm interested. I saw that and I'm like, oh, those individuals get me. They get that there's more than nuts and bolts. And immediately, first thing I thought was family, because esoteric is literally the thing I struggle with is most people see this as, oh, look, there's an alien craft. I don't see it anything like that. I don't give a fuck about the craft. I'm trying to figure out, it's almost like I'm going through puberty. No shit, right? But no one's here to tell me what the fuck these pimples are. And it's the weirdest shit from the start all the way till now. And I'm, like I said, 3-4 years now, seeing them, recording them,
Your
sharing
mind,
them.
Shane, is going through changes. And it's perfectly natural for you to be experiencing psychic awarenesses that maybe you've never had before. It's okay to kind of freak out from now and then. But it's like just know that like you're not alone in this. This happens to everyone when they enlighten. And if your thing has always been UFOs, I mean, chances are, and like Imar, I think Imar's right about a lot of what he said, by the way. And chances are you've got some kind of telepathic connection to them already. So that, that would call you. So there you go.
Look, Shane jumped the shark a while back. I just started talking about it. And the reason I just started talking about it, because when I first broached it, I actually lost a lot of friends. People were like, he's schizophrenic. No shit. Shane's schizophrenic is what I heard a lot. And I'm like, wait, what? And I can promise you, man, I don't get that because, again, literally, I thought they were hunches, but then I start realizing that it's not hunches. Here's how I can tell you that it's not hunches. You ever received information in a way that doesn't make sense any other way than someone putting it there? And my choice was an individual hacked my shit or other, right? And this is an example. I have a tweet that I'm talking about some reverse engineering crap, and I've been sitting, and this is how my brain works. It holds all the information I absorb from this shit. And it waits for someone to say or for me to see or to hear something. And when I do, it gets triggered. And then it explodes. And these pieces just start falling. And if you're with me or around me or you say something when I do it, I'll actually say something to me. I'm like, oh, shit, my Peter's tingling. Or I'll say something along the lines, I got to go because I got to keep the thing, right? And so for a long time, I actually thought, okay, this is bullshit. I don't understand it. It's not real. I had no way to actually verify lots of this stuff. Well, like I said, I started my first podcast, what was it, about 2 years ago? And the only thing I did, it took me a bit to understand what I was doing, was follow my tingle. And by that, my hunch. I don't fuck around. If someone tells me something and I think it's bullshit, I follow that now. If someone tells me something and I get a feeling, I follow that now. I'm moving from where I'm at now to another place because of my feeling. I can promise you that it's done nothing but it's fucked my life up because people don't understand it. But I can't explain it. And the more I talk about it, people are uncomfortable. Like, listen to that crazy asshole, especially because I had PTSD and I was in mental health care in the past. So it kind of really sucks for me, right? And so I sit around and I'm like, do I tell people? Do I talk about it? I've told some. I jokingly call it the Peter Tingle. Man, I can promise you it's not about superpowers. It's an innate ability I think we all have. And B actually was talking about it in a space. She said something along the lines of, orbs can activate it. She had read something somewhere that would make sense in my damn case, right? And here's where it gets super fucking crazy. In the 1980s, my dad was stationed at Kirtland Air Force Base in Dulce. Stationed at Kirtland. And I remember one time, I don't remember what happened. I disappeared for 7 or 8 hours, and my family found me in an abandoned house as a kindergartner. Right? And I think about that. I've always thought about that. I remember being so scared I played Never Ending Story because I was in an abandoned fucking house. No shit.
You were 5?
I was so scared. Oh, dude, I was kindergarten, first grade. I was that young. And all I remember is I'm in the house. I don't know what house. It's dark. And then later on, I don't even remember if the cops came to get me there, if I left there. I don't know how I got there. I was like 2 blocks from school, right? So I never thought about that again. And you just keep fast forwarding, and things start playing in your head. B made that comment about that whole, and then if you go and you watch what all these different, well, you get the Star Kids, you got Scott Andrews, but you also got what's the one at Berkshire, right? Abduction, things like that, along those lines. I start wondering, like, is there just an activation? Is this now? This sounds wild. And this is the kind of shit that most people don't like to talk about, especially if you've had a mental health past, because it'll literally get you locked up. But you ask yourself, like, are they good? Are they bad? Are they bringing me here for a good thing or a bad thing? I feel like I've been brought. And I actually sometimes feel it's humans as well. I think, dude, sometimes I feel like I could promise you, I feel like not only are there NHI involved in my life, there are humans. Don't know how. I can feel it. I can feel it all the time, specific times. And there's only a couple people that I talk to. I make those comments when they happen, just so I could see if they're accurate, right?
Can we ask what Caroline wanted to talk about?
What's that?
Can we ask Caroline what she wanted to talk about?
Yeah, go ahead, Caroline. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. No, Mainly just listening. There was a couple topics that were in there, and I don't know. It's our existence is very strange, and we do have these ancient bloodlines, and our DNA does change over time, and our consciousness does change over time. So we could have even came here from entities that were negative or positive. It really depends on how we structure our lives down here and what we do and how we do it, how we treat others, everything like that. There was another. I'm trying. My brain has been getting jogged for the past 5 years now. I had a traumatic brain injury, so it's hard for me to recollect and bring ideas up. I have trouble kind of keeping on the situation. That's why I try to dissolve everything in reverse. What was if you don't mind, what was the last thing you were saying? The subject when I have my hand up.
It was me and my Peter Tingle, man. Psi
Oh,
abilities.
The Peter Tingle. Yes, yeah. Just that like if someone comes up and like it's like that imaginary tap on the shoulder or that fucking like playful slap on the cheek, and it's like, yo, like like it's like something literally just pops into your head, and you go, okay, something is telling me I need to look at that,
Hey,
and
Caroline, you just made a comment. I'm going to let you finish, but you made a comment. I want you to go on. You said tapped you on the shoulder. Keep going on that. What do you mean by that?
well, it just I mean, I've had visitations before with other entities, messed around way too much as a child with, spiritual shit, Ouija boards, whatnot. But there's like positive stuff out there that like maybe because we all strive for a better life, and there is our timeline to where we've probably been here before and we're going to be here afterwards. But it just you're in a situation, something happens, and it's that people call it a hunch or a gut instinct or something like that, but it's almost like someone's coming in and saying, hey, pay attention to this, like, hey, do something about this, pay attention, make this a better situation.
Holy shit, that's the best explanation I've ever heard of what you just said. That's exactly what it is. Matter of fact, I just made a comment today to somebody, right? That multiple times in the last 3 years, sometimes it feels like I can hear a look. When I'm on the phone with people and we're talking and conversing, and then let's say this is just an example, and someone else is in the room, but I don't know there's someone else in the room, and then they make a comment and I see that, I can feel that sometimes. Like it
Yeah,
looks like
it's fucking weird. It's weird, man. It seriously is. And it's just like the whole ears burning thing. I mean, you could sit down, and if you have a close knit group of friends or people that are kind of on the same frequency as you, be it an artist, a musician, anything like that, and their ears will just start burning. I can be here in Florida and be thinking about my buddy in New Mexico and talking with another close friend of mine and be like, oh, I wonder what's up with him. And then the phone rings. And it's just like, there's always something out there. Like we're always sending a signal out there. So it would be impossible to think that someone can't be sending us a signal. And if you think about like how we are on spaces right now, we're either on a PC or on our phone, and we're all in a large group talking. We don't even think about how it happens or why it happens. There's so much just in between technology and its frequency, and we all radiate on it and we all pick up on it, and we don't need a phone to necessarily communicate with others. Just like I don't think they or whoever they are out there that might be trying to communicate with us, I don't I don't think they need a cell phone. They don't need to pay fucking $80 a month, buy a $1,500 phone, $2,000 phone. Like if we just wake the fuck up and just start like oh, okay, that I felt that. Okay, I heard that. It's like it was someone's voice, a voice that I've known, or something similar to that, and it just pops into your mind. That's just frequency. That's what we're built of. I mean, we're just a shaky, yeah, flesh mound with some fucking structure in the middle of it.
You're right. And I'll tell you this, for a flesh mound with some structure in the middle of it, I'm the best one to tell you retweet the space. because we will keep talking about this subject. But Carolyn, one of the things I wanted to bring up is whenever we, I guess you'd say, get these feelings, do you think that it's like a quantum entanglement type thing, right? Like that's why, because we're connected to everything and all things, we just don't know how to access it? Or do you think it's just a matter of we're just going about our daily lives and something completely different? I think it's a quantum entanglement type thing, right? Different expressions, the same thing all over the place. It just feels like we don't know what we're doing. How do you take it? You mentioned the tap on the shoulder, and I said the look. I think that's what that shit is.
Yeah, I can't explain how, beyond the fact of just the thought process, the consciousness of like talking about somebody and sharing love for them and like, oh, I wonder where he's at, wonder when he's going to come into town, when can we jam again and everything like that. I'm so excited. So you're putting all that out there, and then all of a sudden your phone rings and you haven't heard from that person in 4 or 5 months, and they're like, hey, I'm coming to town.
Right on. And we're going to move over to whoever's next, but I will say one of these things, like one of my things I talk about all the time is like never getting to sit across from someone to talk about how I really experience the phenomenon, because I've kind of been talking a little bit about Peter Tingle, shit like that. That's the phenomenon to me, right? So I talk about that a lot. And I often wonder, I'm like, how insane it is to live in a reality where the vast majority of people aren't quite there yet. And if you talk about it, right, it's not a good thing. So you sit, you compartmentalize this shit. And these rooms, again, retweet the space, because there's no place else for people like my fucking weird ass to go and host a space so we can come and talk about these weird, uncomfortable things. And they are uncomfortable. They're so uncomfortable. I didn't talk about them for a year and a half. I didn't tell anyone. When I first saw my shit, I had downloads instantly, right? I never told shit because I knew how insane it sounded. And matter of fact, it's about message. You got to watch what you say, and you got to watch who you say it to, because again, this topic. So I'm done with that shit. I mean, what do I got to lose? I'm single. Well, not really. I'm Star Kid. I'm dating a Star Kid. I made some bad managed jokes, and she about broke up with me, guys. So I can't do that anymore. Just to remind you. So Taylor, go ahead.
I was going to say that where two or more are gathered, their psychic powers increase. So imagine a population of, let's just say, 20 billion telepaths. They can speak to the mind of anyone, anywhere in the universe. However, they're not supposed to unless invited. It's illegal to read someone's mind without permission. If they find out you've read someone's mind, there's like, it's like say someone in the Galactic Council, that's like treason. Mind reading anyone is serious shit, as it should be. And can you imagine if somebody like mind read, mind controlled the president or someone similar? Galactic law starts with psychic law, and like psychic law is about to be a thing, I think. When we all wake up to this, and we will, things like psychic crime are going to be on the table. So it takes like psychic investigators too.
I agree. I think the more we learn, actually, I think I made this comment today about, they had talked about the phenomenon. And I literally said this about the phenomenon. I said, I think the more we open our eyes to what we're capable of, because of the phenomenon, not because they cause it, because of interactions and realizing that box doesn't exist, we can step out of it, the wider our eyes get to seeing things, to interacting with reality the way you're actually supposed to interact with it, without religions and control systems dictating how and why you do things. That's something important that David Gress mentions, right? So again, I'm not knocking anyone's religion. Everyone's welcome to be spiritual. What I'm saying is organized religion, what David Grush was talking about, was designed for one purpose, subterfuge, to control the masses, to keep them in play, to just that type of thing, right? Doesn't mean you can't do your own thing. I do. I worship my alien overlords, obviously. Oh, shit. Take over for it, friends. I forgot Astral left. We don't need him.
Oh, yeah. I think he's a UFO Twitter weeking, getting all kinds of good spaces ready for everyone in here. Dune, go ahead.
Hey yo, happy Friday, everyone. So happy to be here. All right, so I don't know if I was actually next. I think Taylor was
I
next.
figured I figured you were, and you probably had a comment about my fucking Peter tingle.
Oh, your Peter Tickler
That's how
thing?
you're saying
Oh my god.
Spidey sense. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, it's Spidey sense, Peter tingle. I'm not talking about playing with myself, guys. You bunch of fucking perverts.
No, last night you started talking about pickle tickler. Never mind. Anyway,
What are you,
so
pervert?
I just kind of walked into this and heard you guys talking about like synchronicities and stuff, and just wanted to like say like that
Give me
stuff.
this, dude. What's the wildest sync you've ever had? The one that you can't discount. There's no fucking way. It's something had to have happened to Brilliant there.
I have to say that it was going someplace. It was like meeting someplace, but like we didn't plan on it, but it was tentative. And
You
we
all
never
just
talked
showed up,
about it.
and then
Yeah,
you ended up meeting there.
yeah, but there are definitely more. You just kind of caught me by
I put
surprise.
you on the
The
spot.
one
I did that on
example,
purpose
not the
because I put you on the
craziest
spot
one.
on purpose because you're an
Well,
asshole, dude.
it's not
Just so
the.
you know.
I love you. The craziest thing that I think that happened. I can't. I don't think I could speak about it publicly, but um, but I think that one thing that happens. It's not just like phone calls. It's like the feelings before the phone calls. It's and it happens more with people who I'm most connected to. And also, I have to say, the freakiest thing, I think the most unlikely, statistically quasi impossible thing that has happened to me recently was like a space starting when I was like just going into my messages and someone had sent me like a space to join. I think that's happened on way more than one occasion. I'll share the crazier ones another time, though. It's kind of a long story.
All right, dude. I tell you what, I liked your stories; they were good. I want to hear the crazier ones because I know you told me they involved whipped cream, a mountain, and 3 sharks. Make sure you tell everybody that story.
Baby. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, bro. Hey, who was up next? Was it Sue or Jay Just or Beaver? I like Beaver.
I don't know. Did I miss Taylor? Hold that. I think so. I think Dune said I might have missed Taylor.
That sounded horrible. Hold
I
up.
went.
You did miss Taylor, and I didn't mean it to sound like that when I said I like Beaver.
I think it's me.
I literally thought that's what you meant, Shane. So
Not that kind of beaver, but the actual beavers.
my head in the gutter. It's Friday. It's allowed to be.
Sue, go ahead.
Thank you, because I want to talk about something before it gets out of the space. What Callan was saying about the tap on the shoulder and your dingle thing, whatever that is, Shane. Isn't that kind of what we call precog? Because that's what it is for me. That's what that's what it it was labeled to me as precog, because I do it constantly, and my daughter has had like a jaw dropping one, but it's very complicated to explain recently. But she does it too. But I've been doing it since I was a teen. I can remember when we all had landlines, and I've said this before, so I'm sorry that I'm repeating myself, but I remember this. As a teenager, I would, call my friend or call whoever. And if by the second ring, somebody didn't pick it up on the second ring, I knew they weren't going to pick it up. Nobody was there. I knew it. And I still do that sometimes. Like, no, nobody's there. But I have like precog things constantly. I guess that's why I'm not scared of the paranormal at all, because to me sometimes it's me and my daughter were in separate rooms one time, and we had been talking about her grandmothers that she never met and stuff, and all of a sudden I thought she had a candle going, and with migraines she would drive me crazy having candles, and I was like, oh, what is that smell? And I opened the door to her room. I said, oh, you don't have a candle on? She goes, no, why? Did you smell that? And I said, what did you smell? She said, I'm not sure. Like I said, was it like an older woman's perfume, like the old type? She said, exactly, Mom, exactly. And we had just like before she went in the room, we were just talking about her great grandmothers that she didn't meet and whatnot. But precog stuff happens to me constantly and to her constantly. And her and I are so connected that every single time one of us calls or FaceTimes or texts, the other one has a phone in the hand ready to do the opposite. So I don't know what's going on there, but I definitely understand what
I
Karen
believe
was
you.
talking
I
about.
believe you. Matter of fact, Sue, I bet you that was you remote viewing me when I was on the toilet. I know you, Sue, and it
I
was.
know. Had to get a peek. Had to
You
get a
dirty
peek.
dog. You've been crazy. Who was it? Beaver or Vent? Who was it? Hopefully Beaver, because I don't like a Vent.
What's that about not liking Beaver?
No, I like Beaver. I hate a Vent.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say I was wanting to ask the person about what I thought they were talking about was astral projection or whatever, and being there before they were expecting you to be there. That is something that has actually happened to me, and if I'm wrong, then that's just something that happened to me. Like I astral projected, and I learned how to control it quicker than they thought, and ended up in a place where I didn't ever, like I had no intention of being, but I suppose I was kind of drawn there. And when I got there, there was people standing there, and they weren't speaking. They weren't people. They were just beings, and they thought, "How the fuck did he do that?" You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Does anybody have anything in relation to that?
I mean, I've heard remote viewers from Farsight talk about that kind of thing, where they're remote viewing something and they're in the room and they try to make contact with a being, and the being seems very surprised that a human is there, being able to make contact. Does that help you out at all?
Well, actually, it was more of an astral projection kind of situation where I left my body, and it seemed in a sequence. It was a sequence of things, there was many things that happened, like in the result of it, but the end result was I shot. Essentially, I realized I didn't have to fly. I didn't have to walk, run, drive, do anything except be somewhere. And I appeared there, and it was a planet, and I'm standing on this planet, and there's these beings looking at me, and they said, just what I said before, like holy shit, like he's not supposed to be here. And it wasn't like a scary feeling at all. It wasn't like a warm feeling. It was more of just like a really uncomfortable feeling, and then shot back to my body.
Beaver, that is a type of remote viewing or transportation even.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. So you're just your astral body was there, but when the remote viewers are doing it, it's just their consciousness without the astral body. And so yeah, it's definitely happened to other people. People have talked about this very same thing, where the beings kind of turn around and go, "Wait, you're not really supposed to be here." So they're not really expecting us.
Can I say something real quick? Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't interrupt your man.
They may have defenses against this type of intrusion, like anti-spy satellites or jamming, but their technology is inferior to the spiritual technology. So it's like some guy who has a wall, and then you land with a spacecraft and drop a bomb on them, and they're like, "You're not supposed to do that. Why isn't the wall stopping you?"
So look, we're talking about this shit.
Yeah, my friend. I just say it wasn't like a warfare or any kind of opposition or defense kind of thing. Like there was no threat. There was no there was no imminent like fear on either side. It was just more surprise. Like they were more surprised than I was that I showed up. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like, as an astral projection, like I was there. I'm physically standing right there, and I don't know why I'm there. Like I said, it was a series of progression in that moment that led up to it. There was many other things that happened, but it was a sequence of me learning. Basically, you can fly. You can basically have superhuman powers, like, and do all these amazing things. Like, you can do anything you want, and all of a sudden, I just realized I don't have to do this anymore. Bam, like gone, like just instantly went from just outside of our Earth's atmosphere to another planet that I cannot explain. It might have been the moon, like I said, I can't explain exactly where it was, but it was just a matter of mere thought. That's all it took. And I was standing in front of these people, and they were I don't know if they knew that I was picking up on what they were saying, but they were just like totally baffled. And that's what I wanted to ask anybody. Has anybody ever experienced anything like that? If not, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone in the room is popping up to say that they've experienced that exact thing, but it's a great and fascinating story, and I really appreciate that you shared, Beaver. And if anyone else wants to come up, maybe anyone who's not a speaker yet who wants to come up and share,
Yeah, real
with
quick too,
Beaver,
Fringe.
yeah, feel free to come up. Go ahead, Olvet.
Retweet this space, guys. This is a great space. We're talking about stuff most people won't. I'm talking about stuff I'm not necessarily. Actually, it's really uncomfortable for me to talk about because I know I'm being judged, right? Such a good space. I'm actually going to let Event talk right now, so it's going to go to shit. So make sure you retweet it before I let him talk, so it's still a good space.
I love Event. Let's go.
All right.
Let's hear what you have.
I'm getting bullied. This is a safe space. I just wanted to say, when you guys were talking earlier about consciousness and who has the ability to explore their psi capabilities. I'm remembering something. Remember, I'm coming from a dark place, Fringe. I'm with you on this. Like, I think that whatever's here is not here for our benefit, and so I look at humans who are compromised by these higher beings. Somehow, I think gang stalking is all tied to like blackmailing civilians into doing these types of things. But what I'm getting at is Gary Nolan, right? Everyone loves Gary. But I thought I had heard him say, as they're studying the brain, as people who have been near experiencers, that they're working on a drug that will block these signals. And I thought of you, Fringe, because I'm figuring you would be like, oh, hell yeah, give me that drug. I don't want to see these things. I don't want to
Wait a
communicate.
minute. What?
Yeah.
Where did you hear
Yeah.
this? What is it?
It was on one of the many like podcasts he was on. He said that they're going to explore this to see if, for the people who are suffering from traumatic experiences and there's no relief, they want to see if they can find out a way to basically turn your antenna off. Now,
Yeah, I remember
right.
that.
And so what I'm thinking though is like, oh snap. So while we know that people have bad experiences and some people have good experiences, what if these guys, and this is just me going conspiracy theory hard, start putting that shit in our food or water, whatever, just to dumb us all down so that we can't even know or experience communication from a higher being or something like that. I mean, do you see? I mean, I could see them using that as a control mechanism if they don't want you to reach out.
That's called fluoride.
Well, the pineal gland thing, yeah, and I stopped using fluoride. That's why I have a cracked mouth right now. No, but is it? You think that's the thing that's blocking? But I mean, if that's the case, then Nolan would just say, "Hey, just do."
Well, if you're being honest and you want to talk about it, who invented fluoride in the water system? You have to remember that was Nazi Germany.
Oh, what? I don't
And
know.
they did it. All right, so Nazi Germany invented fluoride to put into the water system. And the reason they did it is because they knew it would make a docile population. It would make you compliant. It would make you more compliant than human beings already are. Human beings are already a compliant thing, you know what I mean? And so they recognized, and they had these crazy fucking whacked out scientists that made, and they said, let's do fluoride in the water system, and just basically mind fuck, dumb everyone down. And so the rest of the world started picking up on this, thinking and saying, oh, for your teeth or for whatever. Right. But if you look at, and I encourage you to Google this, the first country to ban fluoride was Germany, the same country that invented it.
That's insane. What
specifically, sodium fluoride is a waste product in the USA, and communities pay to have it added to the wastewater. I mean, to the drinking water. So it's like, okay, I guess.
And do me a favor, guys. Follow all the speakers, the co-hosts. Retweet the space. Give Event a follow. Actually, we align a lot on how dark we are. Just because he talks like an idiot, he can type really well. Know that. Give him a follow. Dude literally is on point with me. Like, we're sitting there bullshit back and forth. We give each other shit because we're so close in I think how we believe that dark this shit is, right? Same with Fringe. There's a reason I come to these spaces and talk, and because, again, I'm up here talking about my fucking Peter tingle in front of a room full of people I don't even know, right? And I'll say this. There was a time when I first started doing this stuff, podcast, when I was writing for the Roswell Daily Record. I still remember people that were taking care of disclosure were under the impression there was a leak to me because of the things that I was putting together and knowing. No doubt. No, I'm not even joking. There was a whole who's leaking information thing going on. No one was. I just found it relatively easy, and I thought it would be that way, right? To say, oh, well, A piece goes with B piece. It just means C, obviously, right? I didn't realize that's my Peter tingle. It's those hunches. God damn, why couldn't I be like a good at that shit with like, I don't know, something that mattered? Instead, that's why I do this. It doesn't fuck with my brain at all. I find this is the best thing, my niche. I love this shit because it's just easy, it feels good, and it feels right. And answering my own fucking questions means I don't rely on anyone else. And guess what we've been trying to do? Rely on others, and no one's done shit besides David and the few that came out in 2017. So I'm glad you're here, Vint. You still suck, but go ahead, Carolyn.
I was just thinking about like pharmaceutical companies and the early 1940s and Bear's involvement with creating chemical weapons and gas chambers and whatnot. And I just I think it's like so much normalcy now. Whenever it comes to like history of where we are, like we are pretty much, I think, made up of particulate matter from everywhere in this universe for a minor extent. And fuck, I don't even know where I was going with that.
Hey, mate, I gotta stop you there, brother, because you went from talking about chemicals that were created by Nazi scientists or in the 1940s, and
American scientists.
Oh well, American scientists actually created the gas that was used in the gas chambers.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
We created the time cards that Nazis used to clock in and clock out of work every day.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, hey, Beaver, before you go on.
We also hang on, mate. We also had the introduction of fluoride and all of these crazy what Nazi scientists were doing and what we're lacking that really ties to what you guys talk about is how involved the Nazis were with investigating.
That's my question for you, Beaver.
Paranormal.
What do you know about Mingle? What do you know about Joseph Mingle?
What do you want me to know about him? I mean,
I want you to talk about him. You just brought up Nazi Germany and the players, Operation Paperclip. I want to know what you know about Mingle. Do you think that he was a part of MK Ultra and some of these different programs we had over here?
No. Well, I think yes. I think first off, I don't think it's a one government system. You know what I mean? Or like, I don't think our government is separate from Nazi Germany. It's like the weather; it just changes over time. It's a pattern. It just moves around the world, and we just screw people over like constantly. Like, or we don't, but you know they do. And it's if you ever read, have you ever read? I want to ask you this: have you ever read the book by Arthur C. Clarke, Overlord of Men, or Children of Men? I'm sorry, it's called Children of Men, and it talks about alien overlords controlling the Earth. What's important to recognize is the man that wrote that book was not just some random dude like George Orwell. He worked for the government and he helped develop the satellite system. Like he's not solely responsible for it, but he was the thought project behind it. You know what I mean? Like, so our satellite system is based upon a guy who told us that alien overlords ruled the world. Think about that.
Scare those World Truth generals a lot. That's why a lot of them didn't want to disclose to the public because they can handle either. It was very shocking to their paradigm.
Let me ask you guys this, since we got lots of yeah, that would have been. I was about to say Nazi fans. They're not Nazi fans, but I meant that know that Nazis were involved in the occult, and there's a reason they were involved in the occult, right? Esoteric, right? And the reason they were esoteric, the phenomenon. I want to know if you guys have ever heard of a group of individuals. There's actually, what the hell were they called? So in
Ahernurbe? You talk about the
Germany,
Ahernurbe unit?
a unit? You're going to tell me a unit name, I'll skip all of it. But I was talking about in Germany, they have a group of individual special kids with those gifts, apparently, back in the day in Nazi Germany, and they were called something. I can't remember what they were called, so that's what I was asking you. But if you've heard of a unit, and if you're going to tell me they're one of these guys that pilot these reverse engineered craft that I know about, I want to hear the unit. Everyone else needs to hear it too.
It's a esoteric SS subdivision from World War II. Ahnerbe. I got it from a Japanese novel. I thought they were making this up. I looked it up, like, oh, that actually exists. It's almost unspellable, but it's one of this special unit that the Nazis sent to look for occult and esoteric technology. They wanted the technology. I think it's part of the Raiders of the Lost Ark information, but they weren't looking for the Holy Grail. They're looking for technology from ancient civilization in Antarctica, Middle East, everywhere. And so the Nazi scientists, they say that we have superior technology, not because we're smart, but because we had hope. Okay.
And I want to make clear, I'm not a Nazi sympathizer or anything. I'm just
All right,
saying,
guys,
like,
you're
I'm
not.
just.
Trust me, no one tunes that. And anybody in these rooms that wants to try to do that, we're not playing that game. We can have this conversation because pieces of the puzzles actually are strewn across all the shit show that is life. That also means people that we don't agree with and don't like. If you want to talk about stuff in these rooms, as long as you're respectful, you don't have to worry. So keep talking about it. You're not a Nazi sympathizer, bro. I get it.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And I just really want to expand upon the fact that everything that that dude just said was also correct. Like, if you guys are not hip to the fact yet and you're curious about it, I encourage you to look it up. Like, what he said about Germany with Antarctica. Um, Absolutely 100% true. Like, you can look this up. It's factual. And there's even the theories that Hitler did not commit suicide, that he was still alive. You know what I mean? Like, and how far fetched would that be from your mind, from governments of today?
I
To think
recommend
that they actually did that. And then think about Project Paperclip, where we took in 3,500 or so Nazi scientists into the America right after World War II. Why do we do that? The same people who were mind controlling and killing their own population now is America. Like I said, it's like the weather. It time is not a real thing. Change is. Change just moves like a weather pattern. So it moved from Nazi Germany to America. There you have it.
I recommend
bringing
looking
up.
up. I recommend
Go
looking up
ahead.
Admiral Byrd. He's a very American.
Naval
He's the
or high
youngest
jump.
naval admiral. Yeah, he's a Navy admiral. He had a carrier group. There's a lot of documentary footage about him and interviews. So it's very concrete versus more speculation that we can't verify. There's some speculation about who he was fighting in Antarctica, why he came back with some lost ships, but there's a
I
lot of
just got
documentary
some
footage.
information today from sources actually about Antarctica. No shit. You guys want to hear it? Too bad. There's not enough people in the space. You got to
Good.
retweet the fucker.
We want to
If you
hear
want
it.
to.
We
No,
want to hear
got to
it.
retweet.
Don't
I
tease
got to
it.
see. All right, check this out. So it's funny that you bring that up.
Don't be an
What?
information whore.
Yeah, I'm clout.
Yeah,
I'm clout
say
chasing
it. Say
fools.
something.
All right, so check it out. Antarctica, right? There's a reason there was a rush to do science there, and all these people claimed all these different areas, megaliths. We've been wise to the fact that there was something here long fucking for us. Matter of fact, I think there's somewhere on my Twitter, there's a fucking face over there in Alaska. Not just a face. McMurdo Station is a big part of, I'll say, not necessarily reverse engineering type tech, but deeper, darker places, right? Time travel, Operation Pegasus, things that Montauk chip, things that people are going to write off. But the thing is this: what do we do with all this news? If our government's lied to us so much, there's no grounding yourself. What do? How do you pull yourself back from the edge? That's the shit that I've been dealing with, because the stuff our government's been lying about, it's not nuts and bolts. That the big secret isn't that they have fucking craft. The big secret's pretty much that they know the secret, like consciousness, like how to interact with the world in a way that you can hack that shit. That's the secret. Now, the bad part of all this that Lou's talking about, somber and things like that, maybe it's the fact that because we have lived this life, got gifts from the gods, and turned our back on the gods, and I'm not a religious individual, but again, if you're dealing with a civilization that can wipe you out and has, and you keep doing the same shit, now ask yourselves, are nuclear connections really what you think they are? Or are they trying to tell us something? Like, hey, remember that fucking treaty? Remember what happens if you disregard that treaty? So,
Old vet, are you a veteran?
yep, I am, man.
And I'd like to thank you entirely for your service and your thought. I'd ask you to present your thoughts on how you feel about your justifications for service at that point.
Oh,
How you feel about
my
it now?
justification for service? How do I feel about it now?
Like,
It's all bullshit.
like that's what I mean.
Well,
Like,
here's the thing. Let me rephrase that. It was lies upon lies upon lies, bullshit, but I do it 75 fucking times over if my government said, hey, because that's what I was supposed to do, right? And I didn't know it at the time. I can sit here and bitch right now, but it's only because of people doing the right thing at the right time. Even if I did the right thing at the wrong time, I was trying to do it at the right time. So I'm uncomfortable with the fact that I sit every day and I think about all the bullshit that I caused, I was a part of, all for no reason, right? And what's really hard for me is it fucked my life so bad. I lost everything. And then I wake up to a world where nothing's the way I thought it was. 2020, Yakima Valley, UFOs. And then on top of that, I lose everything again because of my fucking experience. And I'm thinking, right, can it get any worse, man? I mean, does it ever get any fucking better? When a dude wants to be normal, when he wants to leave behind being a junkie, being a mental health patient, right? Which 2017 is when I did. He doesn't want this shit. This shit was the last thing I needed. And I embraced it like a dumbass that I am because I had nothing. I had no one. It was 2020. Pandemic was going on. I just left treatment for the last time. I didn't know anyone. I had no friends. My only fucking friends were literally the aliens or whatever the fuck I saw nightly. So I followed it, and I kept following it, thinking it's a game. And just kept following it, thinking it's a game. It's not a game. I don't
Blessings
understand
to
it.
you. Blessings to you, old veteran. Your best life is yet to come.
I hope so, man. I feel like I'm scared, man. Don't get me wrong. I actually, like I said,
Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the mind killer.
Yeah, and you're right. It is. Fear is the one thing, and I don't fear death. What I fear is failure. And what I mean by that is this. I wasted my entire life. I fucked up everything. I lost kids, things like that. But I have one child that I want to see me succeed. No matter how much I succeed in this, that's not success to him, right? And because it's not even about that. It's about the fact that you want to matter to people around you. You want to be relevant, right? This is where I am. People don't understand that. For a long time, they kept telling me, dude, take a break. You need to do something else. This is where I feel I belong. And it actually felt shitty for people that love me to keep telling me that. And it's the weirdest thing. I love ufology just because I think anyone who finds their niche would stick with it. Why would you listen to people, right? You find something you're good at, you enjoy, you do that shit. And then, like I said, I didn't realize it because, again, guys, I know this sounds wacky. My fucking Peter Tingle, whatever you hunch, I didn't know what that was at the time. I just following the shit. So, and here I am. Most of you, I mean, quite a few people in these rooms have literally listened to me talk about stupid shit and be like, what?
We need people with your experience because I don't have military contacts, so I can't talk to the military, but you can.
Well, I tried to, right? I have sources. I try to vet information, and the way I work through things is probably different than most people. I get shit in my head, and then I go on my mission of research, and then I vet them. I don't usually get. Sometimes I get tips, really good tips. I'm not saying I don't get help because I do. I have great sources. What I'm saying is this: that I'm not shitting you when I say I freaked people out because they thought there was a leak amongst their people because of the information that I knew, just because I was piecing it together with my Peter Tingle.
You
And I'm
had
not
really
fucking with
good,
you.
yeah, intuition and analysis can seem very suspicious to people who think you shouldn't have gotten
Dude,
that
I was worried
information.
they were going to off me like I was a fucking spy because I'd be saying shit and I knew it was
Well,
right.
they're
You
not
know, and
allowed
it's
to.
like,
They're not allowed to do that unless you've done something like take a deal or kill someone.
well, I'm glad you're in here, dude, because again, we're talking about things that are uncomfortable. It's not so much anymore for me. And I will say this about 40 minutes ago, I felt two people in this room. I was going to tell you then, but I didn't want to interrupt the conversation. I felt two people that were people that I knew, but they weren't on their, I don't know. They weren't normal. They weren't their names. I don't know how to say it. So I felt two people in this room. No shit. I don't know if they're still in here, but two people. And I just kept thinking, man, I know there's two people in here that I know that are hiding. I should say it that way. That are not on their normal shit is what I should say. I felt it. Two people. And I was going to interrupt. That's how it works with me. Or I'll feel a look or I'll feel like, wait, he didn't really mean that. He meant this. And it's usually right. That's fucking odd.
Yeah, I was gonna hide until you asked me all these questions. I became an automatic
It
answer
was
machine.
Jared, bro. That's who it was. I was
Jared, you're on your damn profile. You're on your alts.
I don't have an alt, dude.
I know. Me neither. I got rid of old Bat Symposium.
So are we going to get to Carolyn? Carolyn, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Old Symposium, thank you for your service. I worked with a lot of returning veterans from many wars through a program through the Wounded Warriors Project, and it was Heroes in the Water. We started out of Texas with Jim Dolan. He passed several years ago, RIP. If you still have any PTSD or any kind of anxieties or anything like that, I'd try to point you in the direction of the program. It's heroesinthewater.org. There's nothing better than getting out on a piece of Tupperware, a plastic boat, and going out and catching fish by yourself and regaining all that confidence that you've always had, the confidence you were born with. So I hope you look at that program.
Dude,
It's
I will.
heroesinthewater.org.
No shit, I will. I actually do all those programs. Matter of fact, I'm a Wounded Warrior alumni. I love going and doing those things, veterans, things like that. I appreciate it. I never heard of that one. I 100% will look into it and do it. I just went to Wounded Warrior Project, I think last year in Boston, actually, right before I started my first fucking podcast, right before I went to a UFO Congress. So, yeah, bro, thank you for those kind words, man. I appreciate that shit. There's a lot of veterans in here. And on that note,
Absolutely.
they saved my
Thank
life.
you.
Wounded Warrior saved my life. Donate if you can. They literally did. VA dropped the ball. Wounded Warrior saved my life. People have a problem. I get it, with lots of charities, but you can't.
Heroes in the Water is one of the best ones. They that we can do everything. We can that, and we have the biggest budget. There is no fraud. There was a point in time to where there was some fraudulent activity going on in the whole project of it being an NGO for the government or whatnot. But our organization, like we came through, and we have a huge budget. I'm not the treasurer anymore. Um, the the creator of the program, he has since passed away, but it's still there. The money's still there, and you can bring your friends, family. They provide all the food, have a cookout. You get to go out in the water, wheelchair accessible, everything. Guided mentors that so you pair up in teams, and it's a great release, and it brings you right back down to earth, and it makes you get back in tune. So if you know anybody that needs that, please spread the word. It's heroesonthewater.org.
Is there any way we can get a link? If somebody can find a link and post that link in this thread, I'd appreciate it. That the Wounded Warrior donation link. Also, I'd like to say, man, thank you for promoting that shit, right? I appreciate the hell out of it. And I'll also say that, dude, I sit there thinking, as I listen to you talk, you're like, that you're still with that anxiety. And then I was like, all right, who's telling you to say this shit right now, right? Because certain words start keying on me. And that's how my brain works. It hears things and it wants to piece things together that don't necessarily belong together from different people, but they actually do. That's how my brain works. Like, so someone could give me a photo and have something just subliminal in that shit. And my brain's constantly just thinking about it. And it'll just burrow itself in my head. And I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and I'll just think, and then I'll piece shit together. That's how it works. And it doesn't make sense outside of that.
There's been pictures of the events. It's an all volunteer group, and I mean, I live in a pretty highly military naval area down here in Pensacola, and dude, we love our military down here. That's just what it is. I don't really care for what the upper end of the military does, but we take pride in everybody that lives around here, and we feel very protected. And you just, if you've ever been in service or not been in service or can be in service, it's like the whole volunteer thing. It's if you're able to do something, give back to someone. It doesn't matter whether the government put them into a bad spot and fought a bad proxy war or whatnot. Like, you have to have love for people that were kind of brainwashed into thinking like this is why we're going over here to do something. I really hate most governments, but to do nothing for the people that have been brainwashed, and well, I wouldn't say completely brainwashed. So I'm not saying that in a negative term or anything, but bought into propaganda, believed in their government, and they come back and they get fucking zero help. Like, the DA only does so much, and the VA, like, they're really not going to handle all the issues that you have, and there's no way to hold the government accountable. So you need all these like the good NGOs to come out and pretty much promote something, have donations, everything like that, and actually treat a problem or, just something. I mean, I've seen the VA just put people on the back burner and just watch them deteriorate, and it's the saddest fucking thing ever. It's like y'all drove
There's a
them into this
yeah.
bullshit, and
Part
now
of
you're gonna
this
let them suffer.
part of the disclosure will be that there will be many different healing methods available from actual healers or doctors that are interested in helping, without the government bureaucracy.
Real quick, guys, before we get to Jared, retweet the space. If you haven't, check out the new movie by Tom DeLonge. I think To the Stars Academy, right? Was it Monster? What the fuck's the name of it? Damn.
Monsters of
Monster
California.
California. Right. Here's the reason. He's not the only one that's done this. Lil Elizondo did in the past. Little breadcrumbs, little pieces of real information, things out there. And I know people can argue, but I actually saw several people say, actually, you know what? It's a straight up legit introduction into UFOs, and it's a fun thing to do. So check that shit out.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like that X Corp website. It's literally BlackRock, guys. BlackRock.
Yeah. Tom DeLonge, I believe, this is the Air Force trying to get their version of disclosure out, and I think most of them are trying to be sincere, given the testimonies I've seen. The previous method.
Who are you? I've heard that elsewhere. Bro.
Oh, okay. That's a confirmation for you. But let's get past that. But the previous effort, I believe, was SG-1, Stargate SG-1, the movie and the TV series. They filmed that with the permission of this military that's not supposed to let you inside this bunker, but they just let them film inside the bunker. It was the Air Force saying, "Hi, yeah, this is fake, but it's actually real."
I want to actually. I'm gonna sound creeper, bro. But where do you live? I want to hang out. Like, look, dude. You and we literally like twinsies on a lot of shit. And I don't usually run across
I'm near Stone Mountain in Georgia. You know when the Guidestones got blown up. I watched that a couple times. It was really funny, man.
Speaking of Georgia, is there a hunter base? Is there a hunter? What was it? Army base there? No.
I don't know what you mean.
What was the question? I didn't hear it.
Oh, I said, isn't there a hunter base located in Georgia?
I don't know what that is. Sorry.
It's an army base. I only brought that up because never mind. It doesn't matter. Those are
the you can go hunting for Bigfoot later, Shane.
Well, no, some of the no.
There's a number of army bases in Georgia.
I'm gonna give you one of my Peter tingles that I haven't figured out yet. I keep running across shit in my mind, and then I keep seeing shit that says BF Hunter or Hunter in some form or fashion, and it all points to this. There's a group of individuals in the Army that their task is to fly our reverse engineered tech, and I've met them. But that's why I asked you that, right? So BF Hunter,
they're looking for Hunter Biden's crack cocaine stash. That's all they're doing.
Oh, dude,
you know more about this subject than me.
No, not necessarily. I talk to a lot of people, and I'm just, I'm dating a star kid, just like you do, right? And I can't say anything. I would say that she's some kind of hybrid as a shitty joke because I'm uncomfortable, but nah. Because yesterday, apparently Mantis making a joke about someone being a Mantis is not fucking funny. So which tells me Mantis must be real.
I actually didn't like all this DNA bloodline stuff when it first came out on me a couple of years ago. I thought everyone was equal. Like I grew up and raised in the West, equality, fraternity, or demand whatever. But now it says like, oh, it's actually like feudalism. Oh my god.
Wait, what'd you say? Hold up. Jared, you're next. Dude, you're either a plant or you know your shit. Because feudalism, you're not the only person to say that shit. Anyone that knows their shit knows that Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, all those individuals have been basically screaming, that's what's going on. Who the fuck are you, bro? Get over to Jared first, and then you can answer me.
I don't follow most UFO people until like these people here in the Twitter space.
Well, you're definitely an indigo child for sure.
This stuff is out on the collective consciousness somehow. You don't need to be connected anymore to get it.
All right. Well, I do appreciate you being open, honest, and talking about shit most people won't. Jared, go ahead, and then we'll get over to Cambria.
Yeah, and tell me if it's too off topic, because I think you guys are in a pretty good flow there. But I was just curious on these crash retrievals, if you had any insight to like what is giving whoever's doing these crash retrievals the knowledge that there is a crash there? Like, what is that, a signature? Is it, especially when I think about a crash, it might have an explosion of some sort or something like that. But Gresh also mentioned landed craft. Today I was looking at this thing called Space Fence that came out of Space Force. It looked like an upgrade to our like domain awareness. Talked about seeing a marble in the sky. Is that, you think we're using technology to figure out when there's downcraft to send these retrieval people? That's kind of where my question was at.
I've always thought about like crop circles and shit. Like if there's anything left over, or if a craft would land like in the 24 hours afterwards. It's almost like I posted something about like biophotons, or like a way that you could measure something being there, or like a abnormal or a paranormal type of experience taking place. That's a great question, though.
Who's next? Cambria?
Yeah, I was just going to say something to Shane. There's a Hunter Army airfield. He said something about Hunter Army airfields in
My
Savannah where I used to
girl,
live.
I was waiting.
Yeah, I lived
That's
there
the one.
for several years. So, and I had to go on base to pick up my brother-in-law a few times. He was in the military, and so that's why I remember that. Okay, that's all I was going to say.
Oh my gosh. Let me, hold on. Somebody, okay, who's next? Somebody go next. I'm going to go find some information and tell you why I mentioned Hunter. Since you brought it up, I will bring up why I mentioned that shit. Was it Chris or was it Caroline?
Well, my question is for you. So we'll go with Carolyn first.
Chris, if you'd like to, you can go ahead first.
Go ahead, man. I can answer your question right now.
Okay, yeah. Well, the jump room. So that's I think a new term that I've
Jump
heard.
room!
So yeah, I wanted I think what it's like a teleportation place or something. So I was wondering if you could talk more about it and what you know about it, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Absolutely, Chris.
Cool.
That's a fucking
Thanks.
great question. And now I think you're a plant because you asked me the perfect question. You set me up for a T-ball home run. So, essentially, look at it this way. I talked about earlier that consciousness was some rail, right, that we could hack, that we're all connected to. We don't know it. If we utilize it properly, you could do certain things. Let's say there was a thing called Cosgrove mirrors, and they discovered that there was access to both NHI and things. The world didn't time travel because, again, perception. Now, the United States being the United States, we would weaponize a fart if we could. So once we saw that they were taking this stuff seriously, we obviously upgraded it and started taking it seriously ourselves. Multiple iterations, elf technology, things like that, right? So you get to the Montauk chair. Everyone has this whole thing in their head about the Montauk Project. Half of it's bullshit, believe me. Half the people involved are actually abusers, pedophiles, things like that. So disregard. But my point is this. That Montauk chair was an upgrade. An upgrade being in this, that it had the ability to take photons, time, and allowed us to do things. Because someone mentioned earlier, time travel. It's in the head. I mean that as in, you want to be a super hero, you want to be a time traveling super spy. It's about gateway. It's about these type of things. It's about that consciousness. It's about whatever is, I think, is here trying to bring us to that next level, the one human problem. So jump room is a funny thing that UAP Mike always says, right? And he just yells it. And it automatically makes me want to scream, Obama and James Clapper were time traveling super spies. Because one of the things that I've seriously run across, and I've actually seriously heard people say, so I'm going to back up. What do you guys do if people that are not anonymous contact you on their social medias that are real people with families, with moments in their life that they tell you that they don't disregard it?
You cut out, Shane.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I guess you get dropped out if you really
no.
want knowledge.
Sorry, guys. That was literally the CIA. My bad. So my point being,
Ditto.
yeah, actually, you know what, guys? If you want to know the rest, you got to retweet the space.
I
Okay.
did
Well,
twice. I want to
you
know
can
it.
you can DM me more about it because I'd really like to know more. I
I
appreciate
would have
it.
told you,
Thanks.
but I actually got a phone call. It was nobody's fault, and I forgot what I was
Oh,
saying. My ADHD kicked in. I'm embarrassed to
oh,
admit it, and I don't remember what I was at. What was I talking
You were
about?
talking about Obama and Clapper,
Oh
and you
yeah.
said
So Obama and Clapper were part of it. Okay, I've read multiple places. They were part of these Star Kids. There was a group of 400 individuals that were Star Kids. Those were actually part of a program with Buharic, Walter Breen. Walter Breen, if you look up, actually is a fucking disgusting pedophile individual. These programs aren't designed to help anything but the government. These programs are designed to make communicators. Project Preserve Destiny, very real. Scott Andrews, very fucking real. These individuals are also part of the targeted individuals because they have things that the government wants to weaponize and use. Why? Ask yourself that. If they're already communicating with the tall grays and this and that, whatever, do you think they're the only ones we're communicating with? Is there a shadow war? Are we caught between two? Because remember what I told you about the treaty. The treaty was a surrender. We couldn't do shit about the Orion Grays, whatever you want to call them, tall grays. But if you go back and you want to read actually Millennial Hospitality by Charles Hall, if you're a super fan, you know that he talks about the tall whites. When he discusses them in Millennial Hospitality, it's like fucking 5 volumes. I'm 1 and 2. He actually he describes the tall whites in Nevada, and the way he describes it, he even talks about my old job, POL, a guy getting scared shitless because he ran into him, right? But he talks about these individuals looking literally like they had a piece from every species or race of NHI. Then I come across a different, I guess, research that talks about tall grays, Orion grays. And their thing is this. What they do is they go from planet to planet. They do what they've done here. They subterfuge. They integrate. And what I brought up earlier, right? They actually hybridize. So the tall whites, in my head, my Peter Tingle says this, and this is something I could prove. The tall whites are the tall grays, the Orion grays, who've hybridized the Nordics, who've also hybridized the reptiles. Because, again, Charles White, it's just a no-brainer for me, he talks about these tall whites, they have a fucking reptile claw, one claw. So it looks like they go from planet to planet. And the only reason I say, and I talk about this now, is because I brought it up to a source, and they're like, what? Where'd you hear this shit? Because, again, I don't know. I just followed it there, and it makes sense to me. So do me a favor, read Charles Hall and the Tall Whites. Millennial Hospitality is, 4 volumes, I think? Holy shit, there's 4 volumes. I can't find 3. 2's pretty good, but I'm telling you, it's more detailed than he talks about in his interviews. If you don't know who he is, he's actually an individual that was a weather specialist at Nellis. And he ended up getting stuck with a job where he was basically the teacher's pet for NHI. And NHI being non-human intelligence. And that's the tall whites. And so he spent years, was it years? I can't remember the time frame. But an amount of time with these individuals. And he wrote books on it. And I also know it to be true. You should read that shit. No doubt. And our government's just been telling us, you're crazy. You're a UFO nut. And here they are integrating. And the reason I will say this for sure, I had a completely separate source, a legacy source, who was in the programs early on, right? One of the things that stuck with me, he told me the only aliens at Area 51 want to be there and they look like us. And he's legit. I vetted him. He's legit. The only aliens who want to be there. Treaties. Ask yourselves, what are we doing? What did our government give up to save their own ass, right? Well, we know they gave up abductions. What else? So who is up? Because I can talk about abductions all day. I'm a hopeless romantic, you know me.
Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, Shane, don't forget about the other story you were going to tell us either before we got sidetracked. Yamar, go ahead.
Yeah, you have to remind me.
I just wanted to, thank you. I just wanted to translate or send a message to the group. It's very difficult and fearful to deal with civilizations and governments that have more technology and power than you. They're like the giant and you're sort of like the midget, right? So what's the whole point of this disclosure? The point is that your dormant divine DNA, what they call junk DNA, is one of the, if not the most potent divine technology in the galaxy or the universe. That is why they are here. That is why they are afraid of you, humanity, the species. And that's why they have the government suppress you and create all these wars and fears, because they're actually afraid of you. Because inside your body, your very DNA, if you can activate it, you will manifest a technology far beyond their spaceships and their temporal drives or their obsolete technology. Because they're at the Carter ship 1 or 2 level. The human DNA can manifest a biological technology at the Carter ship 3, 4, and 5 level. That is what they are afraid of. They're afraid of you. If you awaken and if you become the disclosure for your species, because the humanity is not going to listen to the government, they're not going to listen to some doctors, they're not going to listen to some military that has power over them. They're going to listen to their fellow human beings who have sweated, bled, and died along with them. You are the ambassadors to humanity. It is on your shoulders, ironically.
Yamar, thank you so much for that. I hope it's okay. I sent you a direct message because I am in desperate need of activating my own technology to stop their technology. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Yamar, I think we have traveled the same plane before for some reason. And I'm not saying on the same flight or whatnot, but you are a very intelligent being, and I'm glad that you decided to jump on here tonight because it was kind of unexpected, and your theories behind everything are very well thought out, and I just want to appreciate you coming on here, and I subscribe to you, started following you, and we need more people like you that are intelligent to come on here and really try to help everyone understand what we actually live in, because we don't live in just a small cycle here. There's so many objects at play, and your advice tonight, you answering questions, it was spot on, and I think that's exactly what we need in these spaces. Astral, everybody else, I'd like to thank you guys for hosting this space. This is great stuff. I mean, it's you're not going to get this from the radio or the news or anything else. This is just human interaction and discussing ideas and theories and everything that needs to be discussed. And I appreciate everybody that has the balls to come on here and just lay it on the line. So thank you guys. I appreciate everything.
Thank you very much. I've also believed in the government in 2003, and then I realized there was something weird going on in 2006. So, um, but the power is actually in your hands. All the knowledge I have, it came from other humans. Well, most of it. Sorry about that. Most of my knowledge you can already find amongst your fellow human beings. It's nothing special I hold over you. And in fact, it is your task not to look to external authorities, including me. It is your task to look to your own power, to become a mature individual in a mature species that claims freedom for the first time in many thousands of years. First time for a species to claim freedom. And that's not going to come from me. It cannot come from me. It cannot come from those like me. It cannot come from the ETs or the whatever.
It has to come from you, individually and collectively. That's just how it works.
So I'm going to say this. You're telling everybody right now, the only way out is through manifestation. Right? You want to sit and pout and stuff?
Well, I believe while we can argue about technology and debates, power will ultimately decide who the victors and winners are. So if you wish for power, look within your own body. That is where the power is.
I'll tell you that you guys should do me a favor. Retweet the space. This is actually probably one of my favorite spaces in a minute. One of the reasons I struggled, actually, even coming in the space as an experiencer and being someone who co-hosts or hosts spaces for experiences, so we have a place to talk, there wasn't a place to really talk for me. But I am now. I don't give a shit, right? Because again, people already have written me off, judged me. I don't really give two fucks. So Peter Tingle or not, these spaces are cool. Hunch or not. And I'm not, again, this is the thing that bothers me. I hate that people may think that I'm saying I'm this or that. No, I'm confused. And there is no one to say, hey.
Damn, you just lost me again, didn't you?
Yeah.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. My shit's messing up. Look, I can tell you
O'Reilly.
this.
That's
I'm
O'Reilly
near,
name.
I'm on Whidley Island. Unless you're going on vacation, do not come to this place. This is why I'm about to move to heaven. Fuck this place.
Did you say you're about to move to heaven?
That wasn't, I wasn't implying I'm killing myself. No. No, I was just,
What the?
yeah, I am. I'm actually
Yo, I'm
moving.
gonna.
I'm moving to Dulce, the underground base, so it's heaven. No, I'm not moving there. But
I was gonna close up the space anyway, dude, in a couple minutes. So thank you, Fringe and Olvet, for co-hosting tonight and today. And it's been a great discussion. It was recorded, so if anybody wants to go back and check out the discussion, feel free to. But if you guys wanted to say anything else, and thanks again for everybody who jumped up and the speakers and contributed to the discussion. It was a great discussion and conversation, and we covered a lot of topics. So appreciate everybody who contributed to that. So thanks again.
I'll go real quick. I'll say this: donate to Wounded Warrior, and follow all these speakers, all the people in these rooms, the host, co-host, because we do talk about this. But another thing is, I'm appreciative of the fact that I can talk about things like my Peter Tingle, the darker aspects, things that no one else really ready for in these rooms. And I know people are judging me. I can feel you right now judging me, Sue. Don't act like you're not. But the point is, the more we talk about this stuff, the easier it is actually for me to follow little paths, because I actually realize, yeah, that's real. I felt it. I've done it. So we're there. Donate to Wounded Warrior, guys. And thank you, Astral. This space was actually badass until Event talked. He fucked it all up, but we fixed it. So
I'm only judging you on Peter Tingle. We didn't
why does
forget
everyone
that.
judge me on that? Spider-Man, you perverts.
Oh. Okay.
Thanks for the
Well,
space, Astral. Thank you, Old Vet and Yamar and everyone who came up and spoke. It was an awesome space.
And
Thank you.
thank you to all the CI plants that were in here to set up T-ball fucking home runs for me. I appreciate that. CIA, go fuck yourself.
So I know we're about to end this, but I have a little bit that I think is trying to connect psychic force with UFOs. So if y'all want to hear me out for 3 minutes here, I think this might be pretty entertaining. So this is what I've been working on for the last 30 minutes here. I'll try and be quick. So my framework is trying to explain basically how the astral body and the psychic potential, where that lies in the energy spectrum, in order to explain some of the experiences that have been mentioned. So earlier, someone named Beaver mentioned his experience of teleporting in the astral body to what he thought was an entirely different planet. The sensation of traveling across space, but in a perceived instant. Also, astral projectors commonly talk about walking through walls. So I want to connect electricity and even gravity waves to some of these concepts. So one, radio waves go through walls. Your Wi-Fi router might be closer to astral projecting than you. So hopefully that's some motivation. We take like 3 to 20 minutes to talk to the Mars rover with radio waves. I guess, yeah, so that's an example of maybe how fast radio waves are traveling versus how fast our psychic self can possibly travel. Okay, so the third bit connecting to astral projection is OBE, the out of body experience, is often associated with electrical sensations, mostly associated with the spine. So we know the body has some level of bioelectricity. Okay, so here's my proposal. Most of our consciousness is wireless at its core, and your body is the only part that is wired. So your energy body is very much wireless. So electricity, gravity engines, and time travel. Okay, so I'll bring in Bob Lazar here. He had an explanation on element 115, which he said was used to generate high levels of electricity, which is then pumped into a gravity wave generator to create a gravity field around the craft. Okay, so we're going from an electrical level, using that energy to get to some sort of gravity level. Okay, which allows the craft to travel through space, potentially beyond the light speed because we're manipulating a gravity fabric. Another side note, there's a scientist called Thomas Townsend Brown, which came to my attention more recently, who was working on using electricity to develop or to level.
You're the fucking man. Hold up, Taylor. I got to tell you.
Don't
I've
stop
been
me. Don't
researching it
stop me.
too.
I'm on a
You're the
roll.
man. Keep going. You're the man, Thomas Brown.
All right. So the Byfield Brown effect. This is I guess this is something that you can use you take two electrodes, and what he found was this works best on a disc shape. And if you put the electrodes on the top and the bottom of the disc, apply the voltage, you can get a disc to levitate. There's some videos out there. This form of levitation, I think in modern science it's known. They don't consider it that impressive, but there's a bit of a conspiracy that Brown Brown's real kind of science behind this was used by the Navy in order to be applied to anti-gravitic craft.
Not a conspiracy. You're 100% correct. It did happen, actually.
Right
Go.
on. Okay, so this is my last part. This is the cool part, and what I'm suggesting is that bioelectricity, the bioelectricity of your body, combined with the psychic force of your mind, which is potentially something that exists. Maybe at a vibrational spectrum beyond what we can measure, beyond light right now. So those two things combined can create your own UFO, which we have been calling the astral body, which is reported to travel at UFO level speeds around the universe. Some people talk about time traveling. How's that possible? Well, if you're going beyond the light speed, gravity engines, that's where those questions come in. Walking through walls, even flying. So all those kind of things. That's what I was stringing together in the last 20 minutes. Thank you for listening, Astral. Thank you for hosting. Peace.
Hey, Taylor. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but you had me so excited
Jeez.
because, again, bro, this is how my brain works. I sit there and think, why is he saying this stuff? Because I'm literally just researching all of this shit in depth. No joke. So I sit there and think, is he a plant? That's how my brain works. And like, why would he be here saying this right the fuck now when I'm literally on that now? Thomas Brown and his anti-gravity effects.
I mean, that's in the space right now, in my opinion. So I don't think anyone talking about that is a plant. I heard it on Mysterious Universe.
Oh, I'm
Shout
not
out,
accusing you,
shout
bro.
out to
I'm just
Mysterious
saying,
Universe.
you're
Even
miscommunicating.
The
The
CIA
aliens planted you, not the
implanted in your head.
CIA.
the
The
latest
aliens
Grush
planted
video
you.
with Yes Theory and Jesse, I think his name was Jesse. He's got Thomas Townsend Brown in the notes to that video. He's on it. So this is coming up. We're trying to answer the question of, if we have these craft,
Hey,
which
Taylor.
scientists have been working
Yo,
on
he
our
on it. He
understanding.
on
So
it, Shane.
I
it's
know, Taylor, calm down. I'm
same
with you.
levels.
I'm
We're all
saying I
looking at the
agree
same
with you.
thing.
You misunderstood that I was against you, right? I'm saying I 100% agree with you. I'm sorry if you misconstrued
No,
that.
you're good.
So that was on fucking point, man. I agree. I'm sorry that you were on one and I shouldn't interrupt you, but you got me so Peter tingled up that I'm like, this dude has got to be some kind of an alien plant. just set me up for a T-ball home run, right? That's what I meant. Not CIA,
No, you're
alien,
good.
right?
I
Synchronicity.
wrote that just to make your tingles go 10x.
Yeah, I definitely
You
don't
probably
work for the
fucking did,
CIA,
dude.
but they could have planted me here without my knowledge.
Not without our knowledge. We'll all learn someday when the Matrix pulls us back
It's a
in. Right,
bad
guys?
move. Bad move.
Yeah, I know Astral's about to close his space, though. So it's up to you if you want to go to Carolyn or what you want to do. I know I said my piece. Fringe may not have said her goodbyes yet, though.
Yeah, I think I did, Shane, but thank you for that. I appreciate it. Great space,
problem.
Astral. Thank you to everyone who came up and spoke and shared. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, everyone, for speaking, except for Event. I
Thank
regret
you, Astral and Old Beck. Give hearts to everybody for them. They're great.
All right. I love you guys.
Hey, UFO Twitter week coming up.
Hey,
Stay tuned
I
for
need
the
2 spots.
announcements.
Guess what, Astral? I need 2 spots. I'm going to try to get 2 guests. One of them
Yeah,
being me, and the
hey, we
second
got
one
big
being me.
big guests coming up. I got Vinny from Disclosure Team. Already said he's down to participate, and Steve Bassett. A couple more people. I know once Hollywood comes in and she gets a really good speaker like she always has. Somebody like Ross
Fuck
Coulthart
that.
last time.
I'm going to make it my mission to try to get this to be the time I get the bigger guest.
What are you doing?
Dude,
Elizondo? Get fucking Elizondo.
Dude,
Come on, Shane.
I'm getting the biggest guest. I'm going to get Mickey Mouse something. I'm going to try because
we need Grush.
Look, I've been just kind of coasting along, letting you guys kind of guide it. Yeah, Grush. That dude would avoid me like a plague if he's smart. Trust me, my dumpster fire of a life, you don't want to be anywhere near that shit. That'll bring Disclosure to a close.
Who knows
bring
what
on
will happen?
nobodies.
That's the thing
That's
about
what
it
you
is it's an event where everybody can participate, whether you're just starting out and doing spaces or you're fucking Grush. You have the open platform to have a space and to talk.
You know what? I will
whatever.
actually ask. I will ask my people because he's on a kick of getting information out to younger individuals. YouTube, yes theory. That's his whole point of that.
Ask Richard Butt, bro.
No, I'll ask my sources. You know what I'm saying? I will seriously ask because you know what? I may not be able to host the shit, but you don't want those people around me in disclosure. Trust me, I'm the cooler. But yeah, I'll ask, bro, because he's all about doing this for the world. Literally, he's a fucking hero like you. It doesn't matter if it's combat or not, bro. If you go up against some shit that takes you to fucking muster your balls, he's taking on the biggest government in the United States, contractors, with equipment that our government doesn't even have. People want to say, oh, he's not a combat vet. Motherfucker, I'm scared of what he's done. I couldn't do what he did. I was in combat. I couldn't do what David did. I can't take that kind of pressure. Throw me in combat. So we should stop with that. I want to say that right now.
No doubt, dude. People characterize Grush, other people talking about him as beyond reproach, which is like perfect. Like nobody would ever say that about me. Like nobody that has known me ever would ever say that like I'm perfect at anything. So it's like, for like very respectable people to say that about somebody else in the military, you have to have like that has to hold weight for people and you have to recognize that. So that's to me like a big thing. But again, Fringe and Shane, thanks again for hosting. Space is coming up. I'll do it every Thursday with the remote viewing and here and there with just some different ones. And UFO Twitter Week, check it out coming up. There'll be a bunch of more announcements. So thanks everybody for participating in the space and jumping up and speaking. So have a good night. Later, guys.
Jump room.